2, 1.
Enjoy the ride.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride because it is Wednesday night. It is 8 o'clock. Grab your beers, sit back, and enjoy the Wrestle Talk podcast. We got a great show tonight. We got Danny Duggan coming on. We got Playboy Bobby Starr coming on. We got Brandis. Man, we got so much going on. Let's go ahead and get the one, the only,
unmuted,
the Night Owl. What is going on, my friend?
What up, Nightmare Jones? How you doing tonight, man?
It's a cold day outside, but I'm stuck inside. Got myself some blueberry ale. Wrestle Talk. I'm good to go, baby.
Oh, that's dope, man. I know you were talking up that beer last time that we were on the show, bro. It sounds like you went and got some more or had some left over.
I did have some leftovers. Actually, pretty good beer. If you like blueberry and if you like beer, then you're going to like this stuff.
No doubt. Well, I'll be sure to check that out. But as of right now, I must say, bro, that I am happy and proud to be back on the airwaves here on the Wrestle Talk podcast, because here we are in the air everywhere around the world. Thanks to the power of the internet, ladies and gentlemen, WrestleTalkPodcast.com, your one-stop shop for everything Wrestle Talk related. Joe, I'm excited for today's show. As you already mentioned, man, we got the man himself, the hot shot, one of the biggest names in independent wrestling to date, Danny Duggan, bro. He's coming in swinging, bro. He's got to talk to us about so many things. We're going to obviously get to know him a little bit. For those of our friends and family of the Wrestle Talk universe who haven't had a chance to get to know him, we're going to do that with him today, and he's obviously going to talk to us about some of the events that he's got coming up, man. I mean, you want to talk about doing big things on the other side of the border, on the Canadian side, and then coming down and doing some big things in the U.S., even with Ring of Honor and WWE. Then you're talking about Danny Duggan. Obviously, once we finish up with him, we'll go to a quick break, come back, talk to the world's greatest fantasy wrestling group. That's right, at Wrestle Talk Cast, and we usually like to retweet their stuff, and they're known as the WWE Universe Worldwide Chapter. Fantasy wrestling, championship belts, promos, pretty much everything except the wrestling, man, is what they do over at the Worldwide Chapter. After the Worldwide Chapter segment, man, we'll go into a short prayer segment with our boy, Big Daddy P. That's right, Big Daddy P, here to take your prayers, man. We do a short 5-minute prayer segment at every show because we know that there's people out there during this holiday season that need a prayer. And then last but not least, man, you already hinted at it, Joe, man, Playboy himself, a man that's been around the wrestling business for in excess of 15 years. This guy's done work all over the damn place. I mean, you're talking about WCW, you're talking about WWF, AWA. This guy's done it all. He resides now up in the Northeast in the Baltimore area, and I'm sure he's going to have some tremendous stories to share with us. Joe, anything in particular that you're looking forward to tonight?
Oh, just talking to Danny Duggan, talking to Bob Starr. You know, I'm friends with Bob Starr. I've known him for quite some time. We've done a couple shows together. He's a real cool guy, so it's going to be a good interview. And you know, speaking of Danny Duggan, he's got a match coming up, and with us having Danny Duggan in this show, this would make. I think there's like 5 people in the match. 3 of those people have been on Wrestle Talk. We've talked to Chase Owens on Wrestle Talk. We've talked to Jason Kincaid. Now we're talking to Danny Duggan. That's pretty cool.
No, it is pretty cool, dude. And you know, I love the fact that you know, Danny's going to take time to visit with us today, because I know he's got so much going on. I mean, he's got a show that's coming up towards the beginning of next year, and then in February they have this huge sports and wrestling convention that they're doing up in Winnipeg, and I know that we're doing everything that we can to try to make our way out there, bro, because let me tell you, I've never been outside the country for business. It's always been vacation. I think that this would be a little bit of both, man. We get an opportunity to go up, rub elbows with the likes of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, We get an opportunity to rub elbows with a guy like Paul Orndorff, Howard Finkel. Dude, it'd be a dream come true, man, especially for a guy like myself that I'm still considered to be somewhat of a newborn baby as a wrestling fan. All that would be like Christmas or a kid in a candy store, or however you want to say it. I think it would be a wonderful opportunity to take the Wrestle Talk podcast international. But listen, Nightmare, before we take any more steps, bro, we got to do what we always do about this time, man. And we have to pay homage to the greatest country, God's green earth, America, damn it.
Oh, say, can you see? And the rockets, red flag. Uh-oh. I'll make up for it now. For the land of the free.
Every time.
Oh, man, I really do love it, bro. I love that Carl Lewis bit. It's good stuff. Well, listen, man, we do have a lot to cover today, and we can never really cover a whole lot without our resident blogger who has a blog up right now at the WrestleTalkPodcast.com. She kind of recaptures the last couple of months and day over at Metro Pro Wrestling. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, our resident blogger, Mrs. Brandis Outlaw. Hit the music.
Hello, Miss Brandis. How are you?
What's up? In the words of Martin, off of Martin. What's that? How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. We got a great show tonight. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, no doubt it is going to be a great show. And Brandis, allow me to correct myself. Miss Outlaw, not Mrs. Outlaw. Just a bad habit of mine. I apologize. I happen to work with people that are all older than me, so usually when I say Miss, it's Mrs. So Miss Brandis Outlaw, our resident blogger, welcome to the show tonight. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, and as always, I'm ready to see what our guests are going to talk about tonight. I always love having guests on the show because it's like you, Renee, even though I've watched wrestling for a long time, it's always good to hear stories and to learn more about the business. You learn so much from these guys just by them talking. I would just rather just hear them just talk about anything wrestling, and I wouldn't even want to ask them questions. Just be like, just talk for me. I'm sure we'll all learn. Just say anything you want about wrestling. I don't care, but yeah, it's good to be on here. And thank you, Renee, for the correction. I don't really mind it, but I'm not married, everyone. I am not married.
Yeah, we got to set the record straight before we end up getting ourselves in trouble with our resident blogger, no doubt. So, Brandis here real quick. Hey, Cody, what's up? Checking us out on Facebook Live, man. Please share, tap the screen, man. I'd really appreciate it, guys. We work our butts off to put on together a good show for you. I hinted a little bit earlier at the fact that you have a blog up on the WrestleTalkPodcast.com. I know we're about 2 weeks removed now. If you have a second, can you kind of recap for us briefly exactly what it is that your blog's about and why people should go and check it out?
Well, the blog is about the last Metro Pro show. If you guys haven't noticed that we haven't been talking about it or talking about what's coming up for Metro Pro because it's no more. They closed their doors December 3rd. I think it was. I know, it was 2 weeks away from it, and I've already forgot the date.
December 3rd, indeed.
They closed their doors. Yeah. And, I'm sure it was an emotional time for some who've been there since day one. me, myself, and we've only been there since 2013. So, but even within that span of time, there were so many memories. There's been so many people I've had the blessed opportunity to meet, and to hopefully I've befriended a lot of them, and hopefully none of them are mad at me. But you know, and just really having that opportunity to up close and personal see professional wrestling, what it really is, and that's something that I will never take for granted as long as I live, as long as I still love professional wrestling. I encourage people to go on to the website and to read it, because it's definitely from a fan perspective. It's something that I think a lot of people can relate to, especially with nowadays, you know, we have such huge mainstream brands out there, and it's very, very, very easy to forget the ones that have established the foundation for the wrestling talent, and even for managers, valets, referees. So it's really hard to miss the ones that are, you know, in the gymnasiums, in the centers, in the schools, in the high schools and stuff like that. So it's just a very important thing to connect to and to relate to.
Yeah, no doubt. And I know that it was an emotional evening for a lot of people over at Metro Pro. And we kind of already did somewhat of a recap last week. But that's why I want to encourage you guys, if you have a moment, to go to WrestleTalkPodcast.com. Miss Outlaw here did a great job of kind of encapsulating in just a couple of paragraphs what it was like. But we are going to turn our attention over to NWL now, because their first show is January 7th. And I know a lot of people are excited about that. Nightmare Jones, I know you're out in West Virginia. So, you know, it's not going to be, the first show that you go to, but I know you're definitely planning on coming on out. And just from what I can tell, they're doing something really, really special. They're getting the fans involved in a very different type way from what we've seen before. They may be taking their cues a little bit from the Wrestle Talk podcast, because a little bit earlier you might have seen a video of a gentleman that we know as Mark Sterling picking somebody up and doing squats with him in the office and stuff like that. So I think that bringing that sort of personal content into a wrestling promotion kind of makes you a little bit more emotionally invested. Which is why I happen to be a fan, to relate it back to WWE. When we get to know these guys outside the ring, you know, we know that they're bad guys on TV or good guys on TV. But then when you get to see Ride Along and you do Table for Three and things like that, you kind of get emotionally invested with some of these guys. And it makes you want to not only be a fan of their character, but you kind of start liking them as individuals as well. And that can only help. Agreed?
Agreed.
I agree.
Yeah, so with that being said, guys, I mean, we're looking forward to the two wonderful interviews that we have coming up tonight, but we want to go ahead and open it up to anybody watching right now, whether you're listening through the website, you're checking out the Facebook Live tonight. We're taking upon any questions that you guys might have, whether it be relating to NWL, Metro Pro, a wonderful KCXW show this past weekend, lots of highlights. I mean, Shannon Reed, the Marksman, the always hated Hollis Giroux, El Campeon, Cornelius Weaverstone, and the list goes on and on and on of you know, things that we could discuss and kind of throw rose petals at their feet, because they had such a tremendous show over at the Alamo Draft House in Kansas City on Sunday. Or hey, whatever you guys want to talk about, whether it's ROH, Lucha Underground, we're pretty much open for everything for the next 15 minutes or so before we get in our buddy Danny Duggan, who's going to be actually calling in all the way from Canada. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Danny Duggan is going to be calling in from Canada. It's going to be a special interview. He's got so much experience traveling around the world doing business, and not only, you know, is he super busy as a wrestler, he's also very busy as a promoter. So it's great to kind of have a guy that knows both sides of it. A couple of weeks ago, we had Pierre Abernathy on, who's actually kind of doing both sides of it as a promoter and also as a wrestler. Now, I know his career is coming to a close now, but he kind of did both. So very, very cool. Now, Brandis, I understand that you had a question that you wanted to ask us, so fire away.
Yes, I did. So holidays, gentlemen, are coming up.
Indeed they are.
Recently, yes. And so recently I made a purchase one of the, like, I think it's like one of the biggest purchases I've ever, like, bought, like, as for a toy, like, you know, just to carry around. And I gotta say, Renee, I got very jealous with you going to, like, you know, Metro Pro, formerly known as Metro Pro, and, you know, just carrying around your title, like,
gotta have the strap.
Title. And I was so, like, I was like, man, I really wish that I could have one like Renee has. So I actually went to Angel Tree for my church, and I was buying some gifts for some kids. And where did I go? I went to Toys R Us. And what did I find when I went in the WWE aisle? I found a belt. That's right, a WWE belt. So I was just like, I think I might make this purchase. So with that being said, I just wanted everybody in the Wrestle Talk family to know that I have made my purchase for myself, to myself, for Christmas, a WWE title belt. And with that being said, since that is the most expensive purchase I made for a toy to myself, then I want to know, what is the most expensive wrestling item you have ever bought?
I'll let Nightmare Jones take the lead on this one.
The most expensive wrestling item I have ever bought. If we're talking about wrestling tickets, I actually paid for me and 4 of my friends to sit front row on a Monday Night Raw. That cost me about $400 altogether. And my biggest gift that I've gotten myself would have to be the Raw collection. It was like $70, I think. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, hey, the thing about it is, like, did you have a good time when you were at Raw?
I did, except one of my friends couldn't go, and I couldn't find somebody to buy my ticket, so I actually ended up selling my front row ticket for $20. Believe it or not.
What? Where was I? Where was I when you sold that front row ticket for?
Heated.
That's crazy.
I was very heated at my friend. I would just be like, "Are you serious, bro? Like, you really did me like that?" I would make them pay you 20 more bucks. I would make that friend pay you $20. Renee, what about you?
Well, you know what? It's odd because I've not spent a gross amount of money on any physical item, and this is me kind of shooting here. What is very expensive is making all this happen, between computers, promotion, banners, business cards, T-shirts. I mean, the amount of resources that go in just to put on a show like this, and my partner here can speak on it as well. It's a gross amount, and we're very basic. I mean, and I know that that's a really negative word these days, but we're very, very basic. We're very, very blue collar, but quite a bit goes into making sure that we make it out to these shows. I'll give you an example. So we had this tailgate before the Metro Pro show, right? Where we fed a lot of people. Everybody had something to drink, and I'm not just talking about soda and water. That alone ran about $300. So do I have one physical item that I can say this is the most expensive thing I've ever bought? No. I mean, I do have a Ricky Steamboat vintage figurine that he signed that's probably worth over $200. But ultimately, I would much rather, I know those things will come someday when my kids go to college and they graduate and all that stuff. I'll be able to buy some more of those collectibles, which I really, really want. But for right now, man, I'm putting all my resources into the Wrestle Talk podcast because let me tell you something, man. This is the passion, man. This is what makes us get excited. You know, Tuesday, or I should say, was it Thursday through Tuesday? We're always looking forward to Wednesday. So any resources that we have that are additional resources are going right here. Now, I will say, because those that are watching me on Facebook Live probably are looking at that championship that's hanging above me. It's the old Spinner Championship. That thing up there is probably worth about $200, but I didn't buy it. I won it. In the fantasy wrestling group that I was talking to you guys about a little bit earlier, the WWE Universe Worldwide Chapter. They're also on Instagram and Twitter at Worldwide Chap. I actually faced the guy who created the group, and I won that. That is now known as the Servant of the Universe Championship. But had I bought it, I would have spent $200. But I think it's a little bit cooler that I won it instead of actually buying it. We did it at was it, Joe, Universe Mania? You came down for that, didn't you?
Yes, that was my first one. Yeah,
it was your first visit to KC. So yeah, one day, Brandis, I hope to have a bunch of stuff that I collect. But for the time being, I can't really say that I have anything that's worth a whole lot of money other than maybe like that Ricky Steamboat figurine, which he was nice enough to sign for free when we met him over at WLW and our friends Harley and Leland Race. So that's a great place to go catch a show, by the way. WLW, make sure you guys check them out. World League Wrestling. It's a school and a promotion founded by the Hall of Famer Harley Race himself. So a great question though, Brandis. I mean, that's cool. That's a very cool question. I'm glad you got a belt.
Yeah. So now we have in the Wrestle Talk family. Now there is two versions of the WWE title. There you have Renee's spinner title, and then you have mine, which was the one that they have now.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, you're gonna look great with that belt. I'll tell you that. And I'm happy, you know, that us as fans were willing to kind of invest a little bit into our passion, and I think that's why we're different, I think, from a lot of other sports fans. I mean, you think about, you know, people buy NFL jerseys and stuff like that, but you're not going to see way too many people walking around with helmets on. You know what I mean? Like football helmets, you know, buying that kind of thing. No, not us. We put the championships over our shoulder, man. We make it happen. I remember, about a year ago, you had those 4 fans that dressed up as, they were Macho Man, Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, and one other person, and they were at a Monday Night Raw in the first row, and I think that WWE pulled them because they were getting so much attention, and they made them change or something. You guys remember that? Like, they pulled them off the front row. That was crazy. That's dedication.
I just pulled my piece on that.
No doubt. Yeah, it was a little silly, but before we move on to Danny, I did want to again make sure that I acknowledge KCXW and what a wonderful show they had this past weekend. It was the last show of 2016, and in 2017 they're doing second Sunday. So every second Sunday of every month, they're going to be doing a show at the Alamo Draft House in downtown Kansas City, Missouri, which I think is a very, very special thing. Make sure you guys check them out. And then, as you guys are going to find out here very soon, CWE in Canada has got a lot of great stuff going on. They're signing guys like ACH. Danny's obviously wrestling for them, and we're going to hear a lot more about them here in just a few minutes when he comes on. Brandis, I know you've got to take care of some business, but I'm going to ask you one last question, okay, before you got to go take care of that business for us. Did you see the Ellsworth turn coming? Yes or no?
I honestly did not see that. You know what? I'm so sick and tired of him. I was pulling for him in the beginning, and I was like, you know, this is good, this is different, this is going to be like, I always compare him to Colin Delaney. I'm like, this is going to be great, but then, like, I just stopped watching him. I'm like, I'm bored of him now. Like, he can leave. But, like, him turning, I'm not surprised, because it's just like Colin Delaney. Colin Delaney did the exact same thing. So,
freaking Ellsworth.
Like, everybody's comparing, like, oh my gosh, he's like this guy, he's like this guy. I'm like, there's no difference. There really isn't.
He's a turtle without a shell. I love when JBL says that. It's freaking hilarious. All right, hey, Joe, you've actually had an opportunity to work with Ellsworth a couple of times, man. I got to ask you that question. Hey, what up, Rick Price? Thanks for checking in here tonight, man. But anyway, I got to ask you the same question, bro. Did you see the Ellsworth heel turn come in the way that it did during TLC, man? Were you surprised? I mean, you've actually shared a locker room with Ellsworth. I think you've officiated at least one of his matches before. So I think you maybe have a little bit more insight than most of us. Joe, are you with me? Nightmare Jones going once. Nightmare Jones going twice.
Yeah, I was. Anyways, yeah. To answer your question, I didn't really see the turn coming, but I'm not a really big fan of the character because of knowing him in the wrestling area and how good of a wrestler he is. I feel that the whole James Ellsworth gimmick is kind of demeaning to him, if that makes kind of sense. You know, he's this great wrestler, and yet is kind of like a joke. So yeah, I didn't really see it coming, but I'm not a big fan of the gimmick in the first place.
So you're not a fan of them making him seem like he doesn't even belong in the ring? Because I've seen some of his matches in the indies, and he's pretty freaking talented. I mean, obviously he doesn't look the part, but I'll tell you what, man, he's definitely a guy that is holding a lot of people's attention. He's a guy that I think that adds a certain amount of entertainment value to the SmackDown broadcast. But a lot of people are starting to get bored with it. I mean, you could almost say the same thing with the New Day. You know, it's funny, it's interesting, but at some point you're just like, okay, can we move on and be serious? And aside from that super kick that he has, I mean, we really haven't had him truly have an opportunity to do anything in the ring. So I guess my follow-up question is, as we get ready to bring on Danny, if he's going to stick around, do you think there's any room for him in NXT or possibly with the cruiserweights as a legitimate competitor, or is this just going to be one of those deals that's eventually going to flame out and we're not going to hear from Ellsworth for maybe a year or two until they bring him back on some sort of surprise deal? Joe, you first. What do you think?
I would have to say that I think that the character that they've given him, that they're going to have to like repackage him, but there's like really no way you can repackage him because he's always going to be James Ellsworth. I think that he would be fine in the cruiserweight division. Are they going to do that? I don't think so. I think that he's going to be more or less kind of like a Hornswoggle character, like a side character.
Damn.
That's right.
He's a freak.
He is a freak indeed. He's very entertaining, and hopefully we get to see him stick around. But they have to fight. I mean, you remember how they kind of found that niche for Santino Marella, and they pulled him out of the crowd and got a match or whatever. Maybe they can find something like that for Ellsworth. Yeah. But I mean, Ellsworth as a heel, it's going to be hard because he's not really intimidating anybody, I don't think.
Yeah. And Santino had a lot more charisma and stuff. Way better than... He had a lot more charisma in WWE than he did when he was in OVW. But, I mean, he was training, you know. So...
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, I'll tell you what, and we got some people here on social media. Our buddy Kenny Casanova talking about they should just stick him with the women. But honestly, I'm going to disagree because the way that the women are wrestling right now, I don't necessarily think that he would stand a chance against Charlotte. Actually, I'd almost like to see him in a legit match against Nia Jax. Oh, poor Ellsworth. That would be a bad deal. Yeah, she would probably beat him and then eat him.
And then delete him.
My goodness. All right, guys, so let's move on here. And that was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for your questions tonight. We're going to go ahead and move on to our first featured guest of the night. We've been alluding to it all night. The guy that I've gotten a chance to know over the last couple of weeks, super humble, hardworking guy. I not only admire the work that I've seen him do in the ring through YouTube and other various sources. I admire what he does outside the ring. He's got a passion for promoting what he believes in, and there's no doubt in my mind that this guy burns the candle at both ends. And luckily, he's young enough to kind of keep that passion going. He's got a lot of stuff coming up at the end of this year and towards the beginning of next year. And a lot of folks may actually recognize him. He's had a stint with ROH. He's had a stint with WWE. But now he is kind of what you would call the head guy over at CWE. 6 feet tall, 249 pounds, hailing from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, the hot shot, Danny Duggan.
It's the man with arms of steel and ass with sex appeal. I'm jacked, I'm fanny packed. I'm hotshot Danny Duggan.
My goodness. Wow, if I knew you were going to intro yourself like that, Danny, I wouldn't even have gone through the trouble.
Well, I heard you talking about James Ellsworth possibly not having enough charisma to survive in the business, so I felt I had to spice it up a little bit.
Well, that's all. Yeah, no doubt. It's highly appreciated. Well, just so you know, you're on with me, Renee, the Night Owl, Nightmare Jones, and my co-host, and also our resident blogger. And I've been corrected earlier today. It's Miss Brandis Outlaw. So,
Thanks for having me. Let's talk some wrestling.
Hey, let's do it, man. So let's start with the first things first, man. You hail out of Winnipeg, Canada, a country with a huge wrestling following and wrestling history, just like the United States, man. So let's start off there, man. You came up in Canada. What was that like, and how did you inevitably fall into the wrestling business?
Well, right now it's a winter hell. It's about minus 30 here in Winnipeg, and it's only going to get worse as the months go on. So growing up in Canada and breaking into the business in Canada, you're toughened up right from the get-go. And as we get talking about some of the, the Canadian wrestling tours and things of that nature, you've seen so many Canadian wrestlers go on to be so successful in the business, because if you can survive traveling up and down the Canadian roads, especially in the wintertime, there's nothing this business can throw at you, whether it be travel or politics or injury, that you can't survive. We've got a tough upbringing right from the very start, just due to our environment and all the driving and the circumstance we have here. I got involved with wrestling at a very young age. I started helping out at local wrestling shows when I was 12 years old, as silly as that sounds. I was watching a WCW Saturday night rerun on a Saturday morning, and a local wrestling promotion was doing an advertisement for the wrestling school. And at 12 years old, I wanted to be a professional wrestler. So I wrote that number down, waited for my parents to go to bed, and called that number at night. And that's how I could be a professional wrestler. And the promoter, sensing that I probably wasn't old enough to be making that phone call, I guess appreciated my enthusiasm and invited me down to come help out, like ringing the bell and carrying ring jackets to the back and selling programs and things of that nature. So I kind of got a tutorial of the business right from the very bare bones basics from the day I started hanging around local wrestling, and have done every job since.
Nice.
That's definitely different than, like a lot of the guys that they start out, they're mostly like, oh, I started out, like, I went to school, then I went to a gym, and I started working out. Like, that's very different. I like that. How that.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like, I got to travel around and do some of, like, the local shows that were a couple hours out of town while I was still in, like, junior high school, high school. I started refereeing when I was 14, had my first match when I was 15, but just being able to referee and such at such a young age, I got a really good grasp and understanding of how the business was just from being in the ring with guys that were talented and doing this at a high level. So it was kind of a really good, strong education that a lot of guys don't get till they're in their early 20s. Like, a lot of guys don't even start wrestling till they're 18, don't really start to get comfortable in the ring till they're 19, 20, 21 if they're lucky. By the time I started wrestling at 15, by the time I was 18, 19, 20, I've been doing it for so long, it was second nature to me.
Now, was that, just real quick, like, I always wanted to know, was that difficult, like, juggling, like, school and then doing wrestling, like, at the same time? Because wrestling, I'm sure that it's like a full-time job, like, as you're learning and you're trying to perfect your craft and learn the business. Was that difficult to juggle?
A little bit. To be truthful with you, like, when I started wrestling, it's a little bit different up here in Canada than it is in the U.S. in terms of the independent scene. Even now and back then, a lot of the companies here do a lot of touring. So where a lot of companies in the U.S. will run maybe one show a month, or maybe at most, a weekly show if you're lucky in some areas. It's very common that we'll just get on the road and go for a couple weeks at a time. That's been kind of the way the business has been ever since I started here in Central Canada. So by the time I was wrestling actively and really starting to get into the groove of it at 16, 17 years old, I was still in high school. So I was ditching high school all the time to go on the road and wrestle because it's something I always wanted to do from the time I was a little kid, and I knew it's how I wanted to spend the rest of my life. So I was like, well, I can sit in the classroom and learn this chemistry I'm never going to use, or I can go on the road for 3 weeks with some veterans and learn the road and have a little bit of fun. So that's the road I took, and I don't regret it.
That is very cool. And to piggyback off of Brandis' question, you talking about riding around in the car with some veterans, man. I was looking up some of your info or whatnot, and saw that one of the guys that you spent a lot of time with was Johnny Hotshot Johnny Devine, or Divine, I should say. And I can't help but notice that that's kind of the moniker that you're using these days. So was there kind of like a passing of the torch there? And what was it like to train with a TNA X Division champ, Stampede Wrestling alumni and such?
With him, it was him specifically was hell on earth. He's one of the hardest, meanest wrestling trainers you're going to find, but it's good for you. He's kind of that old breed. He was trained in the dungeon by the Hearts himself, so he's got that mentality kind of instilled in him. And if you want to be in the business and train under him, you're going to earn it. So I've been wrestling about a year, maybe even 2-3 years by the time I started training with him. He had got stabbed while he was down in Nashville working for TNA, because he liked to go out and drink and get in bar fights, and on this given night he ended up getting stabbed. So with him being Canadian, we have our free health care up here, so we had to come back home to get his surgery done and make sure he was all taken care of. So he opened up a wrestling school while he was here, and I took full advantage of that. So I spent a lot of time training with him, and when he went back out to Ontario, I followed him out that way, and he just got a new gimmick for a very brief time. He was doing the serotonin gimmick with Raven and Michael Shane. So he was retiring the Hot Shot moniker that he'd been using for about 10 years on the independents at that time. So we did an angle for one of the promotions out east where he kind of passed it on and passed the torch, so to speak, and I've been using it ever since.
Very, very nice. I like it, man, and it definitely fits the bill. Because, I mean, even though you're doing all this promoting and getting the word out about CWE, man, you're also in the ring. And from what I understand, just looking at the poster, you do have a match coming up here before too long, right? Do you mind talking about that just a little bit?
Yeah, I've got a match this Saturday. I'll be in Minneapolis, Minnesota, just outside of Minneapolis, in a place called Coon Rapids for Minnesota Extreme Wrestling. That's this Friday night. And then I close off my 2016 right back here at home in Winnipeg for CWE on December 23rd. And then we get ready to rock and roll into January. We've kicked off the year with a 12-show tour up here in Canada.
Dude, you want to talk about being busy? That's incredible. Hey, Nightmare Jones, jump on in here, man. I know you had a couple of questions for Danny yourself.
I do. I wanted to talk about Steel Domain Wrestling. What was it like to be wrestling for Steel Domain Wrestling?
It was an honor. They took a hiatus pretty much around the time I started in the business. Like, I think they kind of ceased operations in the early 2000s. I started 2003. But back then, when I started, tape trading was still really popular. So I'd get a lot of Steel Domain Wrestling tapes coming up this way because Minneapolis isn't too far. And those were the tapes, and that was the promotion where guys like CM Punk and Colt Cabana first really got some traction on the independents before they got picked up with Ring of Honor and IWA Mid-South and things of that nature. So it's got a lot of prestige and a lot of history behind it. So when they started up again in 2012, actually Colt Cabana, who I just mentioned, recommended them to me because they were looking for some new talent that wasn't from the Minneapolis area because they wanted to be different. And he didn't feel there was anybody in Chicago worthy of giving that call to. So he recommended myself, and I recommended a couple guys that were from up this way. We started making the trips down there, and they gave it a go and then took a chance on us, and we started killing it down there, and they've been running ever since. And we've done some really big business down there, drawn some great houses, and they got a real good product that just keeps on growing, and it's been really great to be a part of it because they were probably the first group in the U.S. that started using me regularly, like in a featured spot down there. So I always got a kind of a soft spot for them and appreciate the opportunities they gave me because it really taught me how to work on top as a worker and carry a program that was drawing money.
Awesome. My next question is, you're a wrestler, but you're also a promoter. How is it different from being a wrestler to being a promoter?
The difference is the stress load. If I'm wrestling on a show and I don't have a promotional invest in the event itself, I can show up, I can go down in the locker room, I can stretch out, I can lay on the floor for a few hours if I would like to, I can put on my boots whenever I would like. When you're the promoter, you don't have that same luxury. You're going from the minute you wake up till the minute you go to bed. whether it be getting things ready for the show or doing media appearances or getting the show set up, booking the show, meeting with talent. So in regards to just your day, it's a completely different ballpark when you're promoting a show to just wrestling on a show.
Okay.
I don't think I would ever want that.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's for sure.
I actually had a question, not for Danny Duggan, but for Danny Warren. And you travel a lot, and you just said that, the stress of being a promoter and a wrestler, is different, and obviously being a promoter is a lot higher because you're not only worried about yourself, you're worried about the other guys. How does a guy like you manage it? And we haven't actually talked about this. I mean, do you have kids? Do you have a wife? How does being on the road that much and being that busy affect you on a personal level? I mean, is it something that you found a way to balance because you've been doing it for so long? Or is it like a lot of other guys that you continue to struggle with it on a day in, day out basis?
To me, because I started so young doing it, I started doing my first tours at 16 years old and I've been doing them consistently ever since then. It's just second nature to me. I know some guys have a hard time kind of going away and being away for long periods of time, and it's not because you don't care about the people at home or you don't miss the people at home. You just get used to dealing with it. So I can go away for 3-4 weeks at a time, and it's like being gone for a day or two because it's just another day at the office and just something I've been kind of ingrained in how to do for so long. So in terms of a personal level, I know with the people around me it can be tough, and it's definitely made relationships tough in the past, but luckily I've got someone great now who's very understanding and very supporting of what I do, and that makes the world of a difference between doing this and doing it and having fun and doing it and being stressed out. When things are happy at home, things are happy on the road.
No doubt. Happy wife, happy life, at least in my world. That holds to be very, very true.
That's right.
And no doubt. And then going back into the wrestling world, a lot of people who follow you, and by the way, you have a tremendous following on social media, man. Kind of look up to you in a lot of ways because of how good you operate and navigate social media. I think it's something that a lot of people maybe need to take a look at. Because there's a lot of guys with super talent, man, that maybe just aren't known because they don't know how to put their name out there. So anybody who's maybe looking for some cues on how to get your name out there, make sure you guys look up Danny Duggan, a.k.a. Danny Warren, on social media. But anyway, you spent some time at least working with some of the talent up in WWE. One of the pictures that's been kind of circulating through the internet is a picture of you suplexing Jack Swagger. And I was curious how maybe that connection with WWE happened.
That was a spine buster. That was a tribute to Arn Anderson, who happened to be my agent for that match and one of my all-time heroes growing up watching wrestling. So, that was a little bit about a month ago, about a month and a half ago now. In Green Bay, I did a dark match for them. I've done tons of extra work for them over the years, and for those not familiar with how extra work works or what it is exactly, is they book a group of bodies to kind of have on standby if you're required for anything. And most commonly you'll see those bodies used for security on air and things of that nature, which I was the night before on Monday Night Raw during a Kevin Owens segment. But typically we don't get to do a whole lot, to be honest with you. Like Mondays you sit around and you don't get to do a whole lot at Raw because it's a little bit more hectic than SmackDown. And SmackDown, if you're lucky and they're not too busy, you get a match in front of the agents where you can kind of show them your stuff and they can kind of keep up to date with what you've been doing and how you're progressing. But we usually don't get much more than that. Luckily on this day, they needed someone for a dark match, and I guess I stood out in my match earlier in the day in front of the agents, and I got selected for it and got to tear the house down with Jack Swagger before they went live for SmackDown.
Oh, man, that's cool. And how was it working with him in the ring? I mean, is he as physically imposing, as talented as they bill him? Because, I mean, the kid's obviously, no matter what you think about him as a character, I mean, physically the kid's one of the better athletes that we've ever seen come out of college and go into the WWE. What is your recollection of spending some time in the ring with him?
Super easy. Consummate pro. People on the outside looking in go, oh, why does this guy get pushed and why does that guy get pushed? Being in the ring with the guy for 5 minutes or as long as it may have been that night, I could tell why he's in the spot he's in and why he's made the money he has. He's definitely a professional in the ring, was a professional in the back, and knows how to get it done out there.
Oh, man, that's cool. That must have been a heck of an experience, and hopefully that they continue to dial that number, man, because I know it's great to see you in the Indies, and I know that we're looking forward to making the trip up to Winnipeg in February, which I know won't necessarily be a show. and we'll get into that just a little bit because you've got a huge convention that you're actually working on. And I have to make sure, before I forget, to shout out a very special individual who kind of made this connection happen. The Spider Assassin, the Suplex Cyclone, Kurt Gannon, Curtis Pullen was actually the one that kind of hooked us up, said that we might be able to help each other out. And here we are, live on the Wrestle Talk podcast, man. So I got to make sure I shout out Curtis for making that happen. Definitely a hard-working dude. Now, you've seen him in action up at MWE. Any thoughts on Curtis up to this point? Because I know he's still relatively new to the business, and he's got nothing but forward momentum working for him right now.
To be honest, I haven't had a chance to watch a lot of his stuff yet. When I'm down in Minnesota, and it just so happens every time I'm wrestling for MEW, I'm usually booked on another show that day. So
Holy
I'm
crap.
typically working either the opener there or the main event there, and I'm shooting across town to do another. So for the last year or so, I haven't got a chance to really sit down and watch too many of the shows in Minneapolis outside of the guys I've gotten to work with. But I've definitely heard good things, and I'm hoping to get in the ring and work with them sometime soon myself. Yeah,
he's definitely a great guy. I know, Brandis, you've had an opportunity to see Curtis in action. Joe, I think you had an opportunity at least once time to see him in action, and we can tell you, just as fans, we definitely enjoy the work that he does. Now, continuing on, and I know you guys have a few more questions. Recently, we saw the New Day break Demolition's tag team record for championship days, or days as champions, I should say. I also know that you've had the opportunity to spend some time with Demolition, so I'm curious, from a fan's perspective, how do you feel about them breaking Demolition's record? Because a lot of people are kind of PO'd of the way they went ahead and retained and got the opportunity to break that record. What are your thoughts if you've been keeping up with the product?
Well, professionally, I think it's great for those guys. I know they've worked really hard, and those were guys that were kind of lost in the shuffle that looked like they were probably on their way to obscurity if something didn't happen for them, just with the way they were being used, unfortunately. They were given some cards, and they took that hand they were dealt, and they turned it into magic, and have become one of the hottest items in professional wrestling right now. So I think that says a lot for their work ethic and their talents and their abilities. So for them to be rewarded as one professional to another, that's great. For me, as a wrestling fan, I'm an 80s, 90s wrestling fan through and through. So to see the Demolition record finally get broken is a little bit heartbreaking to me personally. I've had the opportunity to work with them on quite a few occasions, just through events they've come up here in Canada for. So I've got a good relationship with Barry Darso and Bill Eadie, but they're super humble about it. We actually did a radio interview up here for one of their appearances back in October as it was getting closer to them breaking it. And they were completely fine with it. And I think if Demolition could be fine with it, I think so can everybody else.
Absolutely. You know what? I happen to be one of those people that's okay with it. I know that, just like you alluded to, Big E, as talented as he was, I don't think they really knew where they were going with him. They gave him a short stint with the Intercontinental Championship. Xavier Woods has never been a guy that pops out of your screen as far as in-ring talent, though he is a very good hand from what I can pick up. And then Kofi, for a guy as talented as him, I don't necessarily think he ever got the push that he felt like he deserved. So now you bring those three guys together, those very, very entertaining personalities. I think it's great that we're witnessing history right before our eyes. And if anybody deserved it, it's those guys, because I think that they revitalized the tag team division in a lot of ways. But Brandis, why don't you jump on in, because I know you've been chomping at the bit with another question.
My question is kind of piggybacking off of what you were talking about, Renee, especially like just the product. Do you happen to think that with all the available technology now wrestling is more transparent, do you believe that with so much availability for, especially for the indie wrestling, do you think that there's a major shift towards going back towards indie wrestling than it is mainstream, or do you believe like it's all on the same level?
I think wrestling being accessible is a blessing and a curse. I think with technology and wrestling being available the way it is to fans around the world, regardless of the scale of product, is an absolutely wonderful thing. It's now giving guys platforms and opportunities to make a name for themselves and make a lot of money and build a reputation around the world without needing the WWE machine behind them, which is fantastic, with there not being any real major options in terms of making money and opportunity outside of WWE. I think that's fantastic for the guys in the business. But just in terms of that availability, I think it also hurts the business in a way that literally everything is available at your fingertips. So it's so hard to stand out and really get any momentum behind any product because there's so many to choose from. Like, I'm a wrestling fan through and through, and I love all wrestling, but there's just not enough time in the day to keep up even with the major products that are going on. Like, I can't find the time to watch every hour of WWE in a week, whether it be Raw, SmackDown, the pay-per-view, and then find time for Ring of Honor, and then find time for what's going on in New Japan, and then there's also the top independents that have some cool stuff going on, and then there's someone like myself who's a throwback wrestling fan. I'll choose watching something out of 1992 before something out of 2016, so I try to juggle that as well for my own personal taste, and it's tough. There's a lot of wrestling right now, so I think it makes it really hard for the consumer to really make a decision behind, we're going to get behind this brand. And you look at something like Ring of Honor, for example, they've got the, arguably the, most stacked roster in the world right now in terms of in-ring from top to bottom, or that style of wrestling that's being presented. And they're probably not, they're getting good numbers, I imagine, all things considering, but they're not getting the numbers they would have if it was, say, 1998 and wrestling was red hot and there's only 3 companies to choose from. Now there's so many, and you can see all those guys on so many other shows, it's hard to really tune it in and pay your attention to one.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely agree with you. It feels like a full-time job. It's like a full-time job.
Yeah, that's just it. You almost have to scan the internet, see what's hot, see what people are talking about, and then go and look it up and watch it individually. I find more times or not now I'm watching individual matches than full shows, where it's like, okay, well, those guys really tore it up. I'm going to go check it out and see what everybody's talking about. But to find 3 hours or even 4 hours now for some of these pay-per-views, it's impossible. You can't do it as a functioning adult in 2016, especially when there's so many other options at your fingertips. You start to watch something, then your phone goes off, and the next thing you know, you're down a rabbit hole on your phone and not paying attention to the TV anymore.
Then you forgot to pay your bills, and you just forgot to do a lot of adult things. Yep.
Yeah, damn those data overages.
It's like wrestling has almost become like an attraction. I don't know, we're all still wrestling fans, and we're all loyal wrestling fans that will always be through and through. But I don't think we're loyal wrestling fans in the sense that we watch a product week in and week out the way we did, say, during the Monday Night Wars or as growing up where we had as few options. I think wrestling now is more of a spectacle and attraction. Like, oh, cool, the circus is coming to town. I'll go check it out. Opposed to investing yourself in it weekly and dropping money into the product routinely, like you say, would have 10, 15, 20 years ago. I just think the whole concept of the business has changed and the whole attraction of the business has changed. So we got to learn how to kind of work within that for the benefit of all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's definitely hard to squeeze all of it in because there is so much. And you talk about just the WWE product alone. You're talking about NXT, SmackDown, Raw. Like today they have Tribute to the Troops. You're talking about pay-per-views every 2 weeks, so it's definitely a challenge as a fan to try to figure out what it is that you want to watch. But thanks to the internet, you can watch matches individually, like you alluded to. I did have one more question pertaining to working for some of the other companies, Danny. I'm curious. So you have CWE, you've worked at Ring of Honor, you've done WWE. You've been in a lot of different places. Do you find yourself having to alter your style depending on where you're working, or does your style kind of translate to all different promotions?
When I was a younger wrestler, still trying to find my place in the world, I'd always try to appease the style of where I was going to wrestle to a fault sometimes. And then I learned as I got wiser and had worked more and got more experience that good wrestling translates everywhere. A good story translates everywhere. So regardless of the style or the niche the promotion might be going for, if you understand your character and how to tell a story within the parameters of what you're given, anything gets over. Like I've done the same style of match in front of a WWE crowd as I have a Ring of Honor crowd as I have in Japan, and it's all been well received. Meanwhile, there's other guys on those shows that are doing things that are maybe more niche to what that brand is expected to be, that hasn't got the same reaction. It's not to say it wasn't good, it was just different. So I think professional wrestling is open for interpretation, and I think it's mostly, and I think this is what's getting lost in the business now, is about making a connection with the audience. If you can make a connection with the audience, it doesn't matter what you do in that ring physically. If you can connect with an audience and get them to enjoy what you're doing and come along for that ride, the style of wrestling is secondary.
Yeah.
Oh, that's some great insight, just because I know one of my favorite wrestlers isn't actually signed to WWE. It's Ricochet, known to some as Prince Puma.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have said that he's had multiple opportunities to go and work at NXT, but that he's afraid, or that they're afraid, that he might have to alter his style a lot. Just like guys like Kevin Owens have had to, Cesaro has had to, and also Seth Rollins, because of how talented they actually are. They can't continuously do the moves that they would do on the independent scenes, because they are working so many dates, and they obviously are building a brand around them, so they can't afford for those guys to get injured. So I was just curious about that, because it's got to be kind of a tough go to have to, pull the reins back on that kind of stuff all the time.
Well, you hit 2 points on the head there with one stone. The style now that's so progressive, it's so entertaining and it's so fun to watch. But I can attest, as a guy who's been doing this 14 years, to do that style of wrestling night in and night out, and we'll do it on our tours because, we've got, 12, 15 shots in a row, and we're trying to build a brand. We'll go out there and we'll lay it on the line every night, regardless if there's 100 people or 600 people. We're going out there and we're working hard because we're putting pride behind what we're doing. But the reality of it is your body can only take so much. And for those guys who are doing it every night or, 4 or 5 times a week, almost every day if you include their travel, and that's where it really gets you, is wrestling those matches and then sitting in an airplane seat or being crammed in the cars, where those injuries really start to add up. It's not sustainable. So I'm curious to see how things progress, because it's like the hot, cool thing right now to be wrestling, that popular independent style. It's a little bit faster paced, more progressive. But if you even look at the last year or two, the amount of guys that have had to take time off from injuries, it's astounding compared to what it used to be, because there's just not a lot of longevity in it. So there's going to have to be some give or take somewhere, where it's going to have to be scaled back a little bit, or they're just going to have guys in rotation, because you can only take so many bumps in a night before, after a few nights, they start to add up and you can't take anymore.
Yeah, and then people ask why they did the brand split. I think the injuries have a lot to do with it. Instead of having to book, somebody like Seth on Monday and on Tuesday, now you give them a little bit of a break, which I think is a good thing. Now, my last question before we go into the shoot and shout segment with you is, you talk about gimmick matches and doing crazy stuff. I saw something with you in a Russian chain match, and then I saw another one where you had your trunks halfway pulled down. You care to elaborate on either one of those? Because I saw that picture, I was like, oh, Danny's ass cheeks, what the hell is that about? So maybe can you tell a little bit of the story behind that? Because I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, well, that just goes back to knowing your audience and being able to read your audience and then work within the story that you're trying to tell. And the one match you're talking about, that was one in Steel Domain about a month or two ago, where I was the champion, and I believe I lost the title that night, and we did a chain match for it. So it was the volume and the intensity was turned right up. Blood was spilled, and it was pretty graphic. I'm pretty sure some parents probably took their kids home a little bit early, and that's not something I like to have happen, but that's the confines of what they wanted for the night in terms of how the show was booked and the direction they were going, and that's what we gave them. So on that night, we were weird, pretty gruesome, and then on the other nights you're talking about, that's where we're having a little more fun and a little more ha-ha, and sometimes the pants come down.
Yeah, we saw that. You're harnessing your inner Shawn Michaels there, bud. I was not expecting that as I was going.
It goes back to to really come full circle. It talks about just connecting with an audience, and it's not necessarily, there's no style of wrestling specifically that gets over with an audience. I think it's silly to say, well, that style of wrestling gets over, because depending on the crowd you're in front of, sometimes some styles get over and sometimes they don't. And I can attest from traveling and working in small town Canada, sometimes when you're doing those really progressive, fast-paced matches, they don't react to them because they don't understand what's going on. They're not diehard wrestling fans who follow this stuff, so it just looks unrealistic and crazy to them, where you can throw it back and work a more 80s, 90s style of wrestling, and they're red hot for it. So I think wrestling is really, really needing to find its footing again in terms of finding people that connect with the audience, because for us wrestling fans, and I'm a diehard wrestling fan, as I imagine you guys are, because you're doing a wrestling podcast, we all love Chris Benoit. We all love Eddie Guerrero and the Dean Malenkos of the world. And we'll go to bat for them all the time because they were tremendous wrestlers. We love watching them. But when you talk to the general public, and sometimes we get lost in the wrestling bubble if we're too involved in it, 10 times out of 10, the general public is going to want to watch The Rock. They're going to want to watch Steve Austin. And those guys could wrestle, but they're not known for their wrestling. Nobody talks about the great matches Steve Austin and The Rock were having in terms of, the technical ability. It was the crazy personalities and characters that was drawing those people. So I think we need to scale back a little bit of the physical, or find a balance with that physical and find characters that are connecting to the audience, because that's always proven to gotten over, whether it be Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Steve Austin, John Cena. It's always been guys with larger-than-life personalities that have connected with the audience and really taken it to the mainstream, and it caught the casual fan's eye.
Well, that's a great point, because we could sit here and list off, guys like The Rock, Ric Flair, Stone Cold, and Hogan, and those are some of the top guys in the business ever. And one could contend that whether they were very, very talented or not, that's not what they brought to the table where they made their bones. I mean, I've heard a lot of guys say, yeah, Hulk Hogan, before he became Hulk Hogan, he was wrestling all kinds of crazy matches, doing all kinds of crazy flips and drop kicks before he got to the big show. And then when he got there, they told him, hey, we're going to need you to be here for about 10 years. So how about you not do that kind of stuff? Because we need to keep you around.
That's exactly it.
We need to keep you around.
I remember, like, when mom and dad bring their kids to the show, kids that are 8, 9, 10, 12 years old, they're not really tuned in with the inner workings of wrestling and all the technical wrestling that comes with it. They just want to be entertained and have fun. So if you have somebody that can bounce off of them and interact with them, whether it be a babyface or a heel, if they can interact with that audience, that's what they're going to remember. And that's why those guys we talk about are so memorable and have made so much money, because you don't have to be a wrestling fan to sit in the audience and watch a Rock promo and laugh and have a good time. But you have to be a wrestling fan to, watch somebody wrestle and exchange holds for 15 minutes. I think, if you're entertaining, I think entertaining transcends all of that, and it will always win every time, because it's going to reach more people and it captivates more of an audience than the strict wrestling, which is only going to apply to us wrestling fans. And we're there anyways. We're watching all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll make this final point. I think that's why Vince McMahon and those guys really enjoy booking things how they want to book them, like putting Roman versus Kevin in the main event of the upcoming pay-per-view, because no matter what he does, us, the IWC or the hardcore wrestling fans, we're going to watch anyway. We're going to watch so that we have something to complain about, or we're going to watch so that we have something to cheer about. So I can totally understand them. You know what I mean? So he's going to try to book those shows so that the fans, what I would call the middle of the road fans, are going to want to tune in, because he knows that he's got us hooked, dude. We're hooked for life. So we're not going anywhere, you know what I mean?
Well, that's just it. That was like always one of my biggest life mysteries when hearing people complain about wrestling. Because if somebody suggests watching a television show to me and I watch it and I think it's terrible, chances are I'm not going to watch it again. But wrestling fans will complain it was the worst thing they had ever seen, but they will continue to watch each and every Monday night. They may take a week hiatus, but then when they hear one of their favorites is in a match, they may want to see they're back on the train. So it's really bizarre to me. Like, if I don't like golf. Like, golf does nothing for me, so I don't sit and watch golf on television, and I never will. But wrestling fans will say they don't like wrestling, but they'll still keep on watching. It's really silly.
Hey, Danny, how do you like this? So everybody's crying and complaining about the way that Goldberg beat Brock. The next day, Raw had their highest rating in like a year. so that just goes to show.
I personally loved it.
See, I thought it was great too. I was shocked, but I thought it was fantastic. Well, let me transition into this.
Well, that's just it. Like, when you listen to wrestling fans, and even wrestlers, we're all just, and it's because we're passionate. I think that's what it comes down to. It's not because anyone's in the wrong or in the right. We're all just passionate about something, and we want to see it as good as it can be. But I never understood this is how I would have done it, or this is how it should have been. Because if it would have happened the way you would have done it, or how it should have been, then you would have known the results. Why would you want to watch something you know what's going to happen? I want to be surprised. Take me on a ride. When I go watch a movie, I may have an idea what the finish is going to be and the good guy's going to come out on top, but I don't know how they're going to get there. And it's those dips and those turns that keep you intrigued for 90 minutes. I don't understand why wrestling would be any different. I don't want to know how it happens. Surprise me. Bring me on a ride.
And I think that's what really ticks some of the fans off, because they think they've got it figured out, and then something like that happens, and then everyone's like, what the hell? I didn't expect that. I love it, dude. It's interesting. Now, speaking of one great tactic, or I should say booking style, to another, we've actually decided to hold off in making this announcement until today. Guys, if you've enjoyed this interview with Danny Duggan, do not fret. This will not be the last time that you hear from him. We're going to have him on at least 2 or 3 more times leading into this phenomenal event that Danny's working on February 18th in Winnipeg. He's decided to come on and support the Wrestle Talk podcast as an official sponsor. So we're going to be bringing you news about CWE almost every single week. I suggest that you guys do your homework, hit the YouTube, hit the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. He is all over the place, and you're going to see some wrestlers that you've heard from before. Now, Joe, real quick, you said we've had a lot of the guys that are going to be on the upcoming show on the show already. You mind listing those off for us real quick?
We've had Jason Kincaid on the show, we've had Chase Owens on the show, and now we've got Danny Duggan on the show. So 3 of the guys that are in that match have been on Wrestle Talk.
That's right. That's right. And so, as you guys can see, we're going to continue to provide coverage of the best independent wrestling, not only in the United States, but now with CWE coming on board in Canada as well. So we're going international. I wanted to say that because you can visit WrestleTalkPodcast.com, go to our sponsorship tab, hit the CWE banner, and keep up with those guys on everything that they're doing. Our buddy ACH, who we just saw this 2 weekends ago at Metro Pro Wrestling, will actually be at the upcoming event. And so we just wanted to welcome you, Danny, and say thank you for the trust, man. We hope we do right by you guys, and we are definitely trying to make the trip out to Winnipeg in February to this wonderful event that you're having. So if you wouldn't mind filling everybody in on that, that's what we're looking forward to next, man. It's going to be huge.
Yeah, February 18th. CWE's been around 8 years now. We're going on our 8th anniversary next month. And we normally just tour and do live wrestling shows across Canada, but we're stepping into something a little bit different because we've built up such a good base and such a good network of wrestling fans from across the country. So on February 18th, we are doing the Legends of Wrestling, Professional Wrestling and Sports Convention. We've got 8 wrestling guests that are scheduled to be there as of right now, 2 NHL alumni, 3 Canadian football stars. I'm sure those names don't mean much to you down in Missouri, but they're big up here in Winnipeg and big up here in Canada. So we're really excited about it. And as you've probably noticed, talking here, I love my 80s wrestling, so this is a cool opportunity for me to, mingle and hang out with some of the guys I grew up watching and help them build our brand at the same time. So, our headliner for the event is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. We've
Amazing.
Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard coming up here together, the Brain Busters.
The Fink, man.
Paul Orndorff.
Howard Finkel. Gotta love the Fink.
Howard Finkel's going to be here. I'm really excited for that one. And
Love the Fink.
I knew people were going to be excited for Howard, but I was blown away by the response Howard Finkel got. Like, he, for all the big guests we have, his response was way up there. And I think that's just because he has that voice that, pretty much defines us as a wrestling fan for, 10, 15, 20 years. So people are really excited to meet the Fink. We've got Bobby the Brain Heenan coming up here, and he was a huge star up here in Winnipeg in the AWA before his WWF run, so he's got a lot of history up this way. And some private vendors are bringing in some guests, too. We have the Grappler from Portland coming here, the Grappler Len Denton, who's a huge territory wrestling star. And Lethan Lanny Popo, the Genius, will be in the building as well.
Nice. And so, guys, for those of you who just heard, make sure that you go and find CWE and keep tabs on them. Danny is working sometimes in Minnesota, most of the time in Canada, but there's no doubt in my mind that we're going to have to pull him down into Kansas and Missouri before too long, because if we can't get to him, we got to bring him to us. And I'm sure the Wrestle Talk family and all the listeners are going to agree with that. So, Danny, the website, how do people keep up with you on social media? Just give us all the 411 so people can keep tabs on you when you're not here on the Wrestle Talk podcast with Joe and Renee.
CWE social media is easy. Our website, cwecanada.ca, and that goes for our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. It's all CWE Canada. If you YouTube CWE, it's CWE Elite 1. And we talked about some of the great talent that's here. You talk about Chase Cade, ACH, Chase Owens. We've got a plethora of great talent that come from all around North America to do these Canadian tours. And these shows are truthfully, and I don't just say this as a salesman and promoter, are truthfully just as good as every major independent everybody drools over in the U.S. We just don't have the coverage being up here in the middle of nowhere. So we got some incredible wrestlers up here, some incredible shows, and you can check a lot of them out on our YouTube page, through our website, through our social media for free. It's all uploaded after it airs on our weekly television show here in Canada. It goes online for the world to see. And then for me personally, you can check me out on Facebook, Hotshot Danny Duggan, as well on Twitter, Hotshot Danny D, and Instagram, Hotshot Danny Duggan.
Boom, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And don't fret, Danny will be back on sooner rather than later, brother. Thank you for the support. We appreciate it, and we look forward to talking to you again in a couple of weeks.
Thanks a lot for the chat, guys.
You got it. See ya. Nightmare?
See you, man. See you.
How was that? Told you guys Danny was going to be on fire.
Oh,
That was great.
It was awesome.
That was great. And between the three of us, this is somewhat of an inside joke. That took some work to get done. Talking to people that are not in the United States is not quite as easy as one might think. Thank you, Brandis and Joe, and obviously Danny, for making sure that we worked out that little complication. And he came on and had a wonderful 41-minute interview. Gotta dig it, man. But listen, we went right past the break. We've got tons of people on hold that want to talk fantasy wrestling. That's right. For the next 5 to 8 minutes, we're going to be talking fantasy wrestling with the greatest fantasy wrestling group on the planet, the WWE Universe Worldwide Chapter. Let's hit that Ricky Steamboat drop, which we've been obviously talking about him today, and we'll get right to it. Let's do it.
Hey, wrestling fans, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat talking at you, and you're listening to the Wrestle Talk Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are back from a very short break, and now it is time for the WWE Universe Worldwide Chapter segment. I will let the man with the master plan, the Night Owl, take it over. It's all yours, sir.
All right, no doubt. Hey, listen, I'm not going to do a whole bunch other than make sure that everybody knows that the phone lines are open, guys. 657-383-1521. For those of you who are wondering what the heck is going on, right, we do about a 10 or 15-minute fantasy wrestling segment. We happen to be involved with and partnered up with the best fantasy wrestling group in the world. Replica championships are competed for on Monday Night Raw, SmackDowns, and pay-per-views. You have a character, you cut a promo, you talk a little trash, you stay involved. Activity is king in the chapter. And we have some of the most original and creative people from throughout the world that participate in this fantasy wrestling group. If you're interested in it, look them up, or not, just hit me up. I happen to be one of the administrators. These guys are passionate. They do work every single day. They compete Monday, Tuesday, and Sunday. And if there happens to be something going on Saturday, they're going to be competing then too. So make sure you guys check them out, because this is a lot of fun. We like to say it's everything that wrestling is minus the rope burn. All right, Nightmare Jones, let's bring on our first caller tonight on the Wrestle Talk podcast. These guys got a lot of unresolved issues that they're trying to take care of. So let's go ahead and bring on our first guest tonight.
The first guest we're going to have to take photos. What's going on, my friend?
What's good, Wrestle Talk Podcast with Joe and Renee? How's it going this evening?
What up, Titan?
We're doing good.
Well, I just want to cut to you all live for a few minutes while I still got everyone's attention out there. This is Kronos, the Universe Heavyweight Champion of our Wrestle Talk and Wrestling Fantasy Group. I hope everybody's having a good evening this evening, but we had a big announcement to make, right, Renee?
That's right.
So this Sunday night, it seems that Mr. Luchador himself has got himself a match. If he doesn't understand what that means, this Sunday night I will be putting up my title defense, first ever, for the heavyweight title against Mr. Luchador himself at Roadblock.
That is true indeed, and I got the email earlier this morning from the board of directors that match is absolutely booked, it is sanctioned, and it is ready to go. Now, this is your first title defense since you obtained the title at Survivor Series. Give us a little bit of information on how you got your hands on that championship and how you're going to guarantee a win this upcoming Sunday.
Well, you know, like I can always say, there's no guarantees, win, lose, draw. I'm here to fight, and that's what it is. So I fought against Mr. Big Papa Jimbo Slice several times. He thought I was going to go away, but that didn't happen. And what we have to do here in our promos, our storylines, is figure out how we going to make sure that you're the best competitor that you can be. So if you haven't noticed, the women's division has been picking up as of late, and I would like to say that's partially from my tutelage and management, but also because the women are in here and they're not going to be silent. So that's exactly what I intend to make sure that continues on. Now also, we see that the UXT division has been outshining, but they won't outshine the main roster. Universe Heavyweight Champion comes in not to lose, period, point blank. I have too much to lose. Worked too hard to get here. Besides, you better keep lifting the weights and punching that bag. Just know, when I hit you with these knees, you're going to sleep.
My goodness.
There you go.
Hey, now, I'm curious, before you go, Kronos, what happens if you don't retain your championship? I mean, are you going to continue to focus on the Universe Heavyweight Championship, or maybe you're going to set your eyes on a possible tag team championship reign with your tag team partner, the Marvelous Missy, known as the Titans of Time?
Well, win, lose, or draw, we were going after those tag titles. So it matters not if I have this belt or not. I'm still going for it.
Very great to hear. Kronos, we appreciate your time, champ. Hope you tune back in, and we'll catch you on the chapter page through Facebook, WW Universe Worldwide Chapter. I keep telling people. Nightmare Jones, who do we got up next?
Next we have the one, the only Mr. Massacre. What's going on, my friend?
Sunday night at Roadblock, there's a triple threat match for the UXT title. My message is for Danny Lane and Marcus Mayhem. Be prepared for ultra violence, because Massacre is here.
What in the hell?
I had no idea.
Dude, see, that's why I love this segment. You never know what to expect out of the members of the WW Universe Worldwide Chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, Massacre, if you couldn't make that out, I heard him loud and clear, but in case you couldn't, is in a triple threat match against Mr. No Gimmicks Danny Lane and the UXT champion Marcus Mayhem of La Familia. This is his first true blue opportunity to become a champion in the group, and Massacre sounds like he's all business tonight. And that freaking creepy music, bro, what the hell was that all about? What was that all about?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm glad I got CM Punk watching my back right now. Otherwise, I might need to suck my thumb and grab my blanket. What the hell? All right, so Nightmare Jones, do we have time for another caller from the fantasy group?
We do have time. We have time for at least one, maybe two more. Let's go and get on the next person. The next person is the one, the only, the Irish ass kicker, Arden Murphy.
Arden Murphy.
Hello, fellas. How you doing tonight?
It's all good, man. How's the weather over in Dublin, buddy?
Oh, it's cold as hell over here. Cold and rainy like usual. Oh, but fellas, did you hear my tag team partner, Master Dirk, just laying down the business? That's right, that's what the speed bumps are all about. And you can imagine, he's not just going to the UFC Championship, fellas. We're going to get involved in this here tag tournament coming up real soon.
Wow, wow, wow. Now, Mr. Arden Murphy, you seem to be rather excited for your tag team partner, and that's understandable. He's got a lot going on. You obviously are going to be involved in the tag team tournament, but I had it under pretty good authority that you didn't fare so well last night in your match against Theory. We've got to kind of get your reaction because that was a tough loss for you. It was a #1 contendership match for the WWF Undisputed Legends Championship. Give us a little bit of information on how you're feeling coming off of a devastating loss like that.
Oh, let me tell you. All right. Well, first of all, I like to think that I ended my stint in UXT pretty perfectly. I had a man talking trash about the way I come out the ring, trying to say that I rely on my appearance to get through everything. No, I plowed right through him. Unfortunately, I had my match against, well, let's say, the measuring stick around here, and that was Theory himself, and unfortunately I just couldn't get it done. Blinded by rage, I guess you could say, because I tell you what, I still want a piece of Richard Priest, because the man went out of his way to disrespect me by spitting in my face, and you just don't do that to a man. But I tell you what, I don't give my shot at him this time, but Arden Murphy is nothing if not patient, and I'll get it eventually. I'm just biding my time.
No doubt. Well, hey, listen, you've definitely got your hands full because as we're sitting here, I know you guys can hear this over the broadcast. I just got an instant message from the board of directors, and it sounds, sir, like not only were you a very busy man this past week, you're going to be a very busy man this weekend as you face the current Warriors Heart champion in an exhibition match, sir. You're going to be facing Jimbo Slice, Big Papa Kurt in your second ever main roster matchup. We heard a little bit of what he had to say earlier. About a week ago, he had a couple other comments for you, and I believe it was Corbin Slater, the Metal Maniac. But now it's official. Your second match ever will be against Jimbo Slice. Your quick thoughts on that?
Quick thoughts on that. First of all, I'm extremely honored to be in the ring with a living legend. Second of all, the man just talks the mad trash on Arden Murphy, and to be honest, he's got every right to do it. But like, what else is there to say about a man who's done it all? He's been to the top of the mountain. He's stayed at the top of the mountain. He's the Warriors Heart champion and has been since SummerSlam. The only thing is, the man just lost the heavyweight championship. He just lost the tag team championship, and he's probably a little hurt. So what's he going to do? He plans to make an example out of the newest member of the main roster, Arden Murphy. I tell you one thing, if I'm not good at anything, I'm certainly good at keeping my name in the mouths of others, and I've clearly made an impression on the man if he went out of his way to call me out.
Well, there's no doubt about it. The fact that he took the time to call out what we would consider a brand new rookie coming from UXT into the main roster, I mean, you've definitely made an impression. Mr. Murphy, we are happy to have you on the show today. We're sorry about a devastating loss yesterday. We congratulate you on a huge win on Monday against Mr. No Gimmicks, Danny Lane. Look forward to seeing you in competition for the tag team titles in the tag team tournament, and we wish you the luck of the Irish going into your match against one of the legends of the chapter, Jimbo Slice, a.k.a. Big Papa Kurt of La Familia.
Thank you, fellas.
Have a good one, sir. All right, guys, we're going to try to do something that we've never done before. I'm actually going to attempt to call Big Daddy P through Messenger because his cell phone died, so bear with us. Let's see if we can get our resident chaplain on the line. We are open to taking your prayer requests right now. Send them through Messenger. All right, Big Daddy P, are you with us, sir?
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Big Daddy P pulls through once again. Sir, give us just a moment. Intern Timmy, hit the music. That was it. Hit the music. Yes. Big Daddy P.
Big Daddy P.
What's going on, brother?
How you doing, sir?
Oh, you know, same stuff, different day. Just got done teaching. And, of course, I've had this issue with my cell phone. God love it, but sometimes things just happen. But the good news is at least we connected this way.
No doubt about it, Big Daddy P. Well, you've got a lot going on, and we're blessed to have you on the show here. Now, you happen to be on quite a journey yourself. I know due to some medical issues that you've been having, you've been under strict instruction by your doctor to exercise daily, and you found a rather creative way of doing that. You care to share that with the listeners tonight? I thought it was very cool.
You know, because a lot of people who know me know that I spent many years playing the drums and playing in bands all over LA and Chicago, and did some touring. And after, you know, I started playing drums when I was about 7 years old, and so, you know, I've used my knees so much that even sometimes walking gets really difficult. And so I knew, the doctor said, well, you know, whatever you do, it's better than doing nothing. So if you can do it for a half an hour, go ahead and do it. Well, I have a set of drums downstairs, and so I decided, okay, fine, I'm going to play my drums because I use my legs, I use my hands. It makes me sweat, obviously. And so I decided to put on a favorite Skid Row album, which is their greatest hit. It's called 40 Seasons, and played pretty much through at least 3/4 of it. Went about 48 minutes the first day. And then today I played Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche. That video is rendering as we speak. And so that's what I've been doing. But, you know, it's going to take a little bit of time, but it's the funnest way for me to exercise.
Well, no doubt, and I would encourage anybody that if you're having a hard time with your health, it's always great to be able to get out there and get physical and get moving. And you can do it in a lot of different ways. I mean, you take a look at Big Daddy P. He's decided to play the drums for 45 minutes while he's trying to get his sweat on. I think it's a very creative and fun way to get it done, and it's always great when you're trying to break a sweat to do something you love. For me, it happens to be basketball, and for others, I'm sure it's something else. Well, Big Daddy P, at this very moment, we don't actually have any requests, so we're just going to go ahead and let you... You do?
Let me interrupt you for a second, because I today, you know, most people who know me on Facebook know that I dedicate a portion of my day to prayer requests for people. And what I realized as I was teaching tonight, which I guess was not an accident or a coincidence, was that I used to get prayer requests about once a month. And then it turned into about 3 times a month. And then all of a sudden it went into once a week. And now, dude, I get about 2 or 3 a day of people who call me, who say, hey, I've got a very dear friend of mine whose mother's stage 4 cancer. I've got a friend of mine named Barbara Weldon who has somebody named Dakota who is just life-lighted. So there's always people to pray for, always. And so I've got a few of them that I'd love to pray for tonight, as well as my family, because I've got an opportunity coming up on Wednesday night. I teach at Planet Nutrition, and I believe the Lord is guiding me to start on Sundays, to start teaching on Sundays there. I'm thinking that there are people that don't go to church that might be encouraged by coming. So but I've got prayer requests.
All right, let's do it.
Father God, we thank you so much for your faithfulness, especially through this technology that you and you alone have provided. When there's not a way, you always make a way because of your faithfulness. And there are people tonight, Father, who are so discouraged by what's going on maybe in the world, that they lost all hope. Maybe they think that you're an absentee landlord, but you're very much involved. And matter of fact, Father, I know that by sharing with them, that you'll hear them, that you will answer their prayers, that as they begin to seek you, that you will let them find them. Right now, Father, there are people listening who don't know you, or maybe those who used to know you, but because the distractions have kind of walked away from you. But Lord, we know that your promises, you tell us that you'll never leave us, you'll never forsake us. That's a promise. And so that promise goes out to anybody right now who's listening, who maybe is just discouraged, has lost people in their family, has had health issues, has had financial issues, that you, by hearing my voice right now, would know that God is listening and he's ready. He says, come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. It's a promise. So, Father, I pray for those listening right now that are feeling a little discouraged, that they would come to you, that they would let go and let you be who you are. You want to talk to us. You want to hear from us. And so, Father, I petition to you tonight, my dear friend Andrea's mother, who is dealing with stage 4 colon cancer, or not colon cancer, but cancer throughout her entire body, and she's just having a hard time with it. And so I pray that you strengthen her. Father, I also pray for Dakota, who is also having health issues, was taken to the ER. Father, there's so many prayer requests that I got today, and I just pray, Father, that you would continue to watch over them. I want to pray for Stacy, for her health, that you would continue to strengthen her and provide financially for her. And Father, I also want to pray for Barbara, who is seeking you and wisdom regarding the 1st of January. We see you opening up doors that only you can open. So give us wisdom and discernment regarding that. I also want to pray for Linda, who is dealing with people who don't have the same faith that she does, that you would continue to strengthen her and guide her. And Father, I'm going to pray for Pam, who is dealing with some health issues herself and is pretty tired most of the time because of her job. I pray that you continue to heal her body and prepare her mind for the work that you have set before us. We just thank you so much. And Father, I pray for Wrestle Talk, that you'll continue to use it as a beacon of light for those who need it. Thank you that we get to enjoy professional wrestling. We know that you are the creator of all things, and so you gave us this wonderful entertainment to enjoy. And I just love to hear my brothers talk about their friends and all the titles and all that they do and just the fun that they have. Life is really hard, Father, as you know, and you've given Wrestle Talk to bring some light and some happiness to many people. So I thank you so much, and I love you. And continue to pray for Father, for Renee and Joe as they, with their families, prepare for the Christmas season, that you would continue to financially bless them. And I just thank you again, and I love you. And I ask these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Big Daddy P, as always, man, my very favorite segment of the show every single week, Snippets of Truth with Big Daddy P. Sir, we appreciate your time this evening. Continued success with your teachings, and thank you for always keeping us in mind when it comes to prayers, and really all throughout the week, man. We talk every other day or so, and you'll always drop in those knowledge nuggets, man. I appreciate it, Perry. Thank you.
I would not have the ministry that I have if it wasn't for you, Renee. Because it's people like you and Joe and people like all my friends who, they just need somebody. And you know, a long time ago, man, when I wasn't saved, my friends would come to me for different reasons. Today, to have them come to me for prayer is the greatest honor and privilege, because someday we're going to be off this earth, man, and we're going to be done. And I just want to stand before God knowing that I loved his people, you know, not to judge them. And I think that's, today I was just teaching on spiritual gifts. And the greatest gift we have today is loving one another. And that's the biggest problem with our world today, is there's just so much judgment and condemnation. And we just got to, we have to love one another. Even if we have differences in our upbringing, our religion, our tradition, whatever it is, if we have everything but love, we have nothing, and we need love. So I love you guys. I love the show, and I love being a part of it, and look forward to the next 3 weeks to where we get to start a brand new year and see where the Lord takes it.
It's going to be phenomenal. Thanks a lot, Big Daddy P. We'll catch you next week.
Until next time.
You got it. I'm telling you guys, the best 10 minutes of the show every week, regardless of who we have on, man. Big Daddy P just keeps it real. And really, he's just here to serve and to try to make things better for everybody who tunes into the Wrestle Talk podcast. And for that, we are grateful. Right, Nightmare Jones?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. Well, without further ado, we got another guest coming up. Nightmare Jones. Do the damn thing.
Oh, my goodness. We had this guy. He has been all over the place. He's just about everywhere. He's wrestled in the WWF, in the WCW. He's wrestled for such promotions as the NWL, the CPW, ECW. He was inducted into the MCW Hall of Fame. Playboy Bobby Starr. How's it going, sir? Thank you for coming on.
What's happening, guys? How are you?
We're doing good.
Doing great, Bobby.
It is an honor to have somebody of your prestige to be on the show, to take time off of your busy schedule to come and talk to us. Thank you.
I thank you guys much for having me on. It comes back to the same old thing. I've said this for years, is the fact that, without the fans, without you guys, we would all be forgotten. It's a different day and a different time now. And it's funny because I've been sitting here watching the tribute to the troops they taped last night. And to see Hunter and Stephanie down in D.C. at the War Memorial or whatever, laying the wreath down, a lot of respect for them. But when I watch these guys nowadays, man, it's two totally different worlds of where I came from.
It is. It definitely is. I'm going to go ahead and throw it to my co-host, Renee. He's got a couple questions for you, and then Brandis has a couple questions, and we're just gonna keep on going. So, Renee, what questions do you have?
Hey, you got it. Hey, and I gotta echo Joe Simmons, Bob. It's just an honor to have you, man. I know you've done a lot of stuff in the wrestling business. You keep yourself pretty busy, and the fact that you decided to take a little bit of time out for us, man, we truly appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Not a problem.
No doubt. All right. Well, let's start. Let's just say at the very beginning, right? So originally you were born in Malibu. And inevitably made your way over to Maryland. So maybe, shine a little bit of light on that for us. How do you go from Malibu to Maryland, and kind of how did that transition happen for you as you were younger?
I've been saying that to my family ever since I can remember. I was just a young child when we moved out east from the West Coast or whatever, so I don't really remember a whole lot about there, except for the fact that when I first started wrestling, I always, like on television, Penzer would come up to me and they would ask where you're from and all this kind of stuff, and Gary Capetta and Finkel, and I always said Malibu, and then
smart move.
Originally it was Hollywood, because I was known as Hollywood Bob Starr. Then when Hulk came to WCW, they pulled me to the side and said, listen, we have this thing getting ready to happen. We need to dump the Hollywood thing. And it was funny because when the Hollywood Blondes were going on, they just said that I was from East Hollywood, California. That was one of Penzer's things. So when Hulk came in and was going to do the Hollywood Hogan thing, they said, come up with something different. So every TV, it was something different. They called me Loverboy, they called me this, they called me that. Then one weekend I was working with Kamala, and then the thing came up and somebody played a joke in the truck and it said Playboy Bobby Starr. And it just started ringing, and I'm like, I can do something with this. And then, bought the clothes and match and stuff, and we had a lot of fun with it. Now I'm just Bobby Starr from Baltimore, and people remember all them other gimmicks or whatever, but it's just one of them things. But like the West Coast, man, the only problem with living out there is every 3 or 4 days the ground starts shaking and shit falls off the shelves. But other than that, it's a beautiful place. But Baltimore's cool too.
Yeah, no doubt. Baltimore is a great city. Actually, one of my best friends is actually from the Baltimore area, and I can tell you it's definitely a blue-collar town, but there's a lot of great people that live there, and it's great to hear that you kind of hail from there. I mean, you talk about some of the other great wrestlers that come from that area. I mean, you talk about Ricky Lawless, a guy that I think you're pretty familiar with. I'm curious, man.
Wow, you did your homework.
Bro, we got your bag, We keep it official like a referee with a golden whistle, man. That's what I always try to tell people, bro. Yeah, we try to. So yeah, man, let's start with the bad boy, man. When you first got into the business, you definitely started with, I guess, an old school type training, old school type background, which lent itself for you to have a long, very successful career. But I guess maybe take us back to when you first walked in through the door and how that was like for you.
Well, You know, I was like anybody else. I went to the shows at the Baltimore Civic Center back then, and met a few people. I met a girl named Lisa, and she introduced me to Jim Leon, who was Bad Boy Ricky Lawless. And it was amazing, man. The class, or whatever you want to call it, that I came from was myself, Jim Leon, Hotshot Joey Maggs, and Axel Rotten. There was a few other guys, local guys there that never got a chance to get national TV. I mean, they got a spot here or there, but it was the group of us. And unfortunately, I mean, as you guys well know, the history of the business with ECW, with Axel, and Joey with WCW, I'm the last remaining soldier. To walk into the gym, I trained in a place called North Avenue, which was a real seedy part of town. But it was the only place there was a ring, and of course there was no pro wrestling ring, it was a boxing ring, which it's hard to explain to the fans because, you know, they're so stuck on the words fake and this and that. But when you get the difference between a boxing ring and a wrestling ring is, in a wrestling ring you're getting slammed around. If it was a solid platform, which some rings are pretty bad, but a normal ring, if it's got a spring on it, or if it's got the, 18-foot boards, straight boards or whatever, there's some kind of give to it. It has to be because you break your back. Well, boxing ring isn't so easy.
No give in a boxing ring. There's no give. And
a guy named AJ Fritzley, who was in the class, he broke his leg in it. I broke some bones in my back in it. But it was one of them gyms, if you can imagine the movie Rocky. Gym smells like sweat. When you walk to the front door, it was a complete...
Yo, what up? Just take a quick second to say what's up to my boy Rick St. Fort from Florida, man. It's been a long time since I've seen you, man. This is what I do, man. WrestleTalkPodcast.com, bro. Thank you for tuning in, man. We're doing wrestling, baby. We're doing it. We're doing it. Stop by say, Rick.
We train. And a real rope 20-foot ring. It was either 20 or 24 foot. I forget. It was humongous. But it was a... It was a different kind of start in the business, you know. I was told by my friend Lisa, she spoke to Jim, and I was supposed to come to the gym on whatever given night. And my mom...
What's up, Derek, man? Glad you joined us tonight, bro.
And but at 15, I was 240 pounds already. So I was a big guy to start with. Going to the gym, and they beat the hell out of me. I mean, it was an old school welcome because back then kayfabe was huge. So, like, you know, they weren't going to let out anything. Even though these guys were basically at the time nobody. They weren't on national TV. They weren't, you know, whatever. But they weren't going to let out anything at first. You had to earn your way in. And they beat me half to death that first night. And I come home, and it was weird because as much as it hurt, it was kind of even a more of a turn on to the business. It's like, I can do this. You know, it cannot stay like this, you know, whatever. And I went back down like 2 days later, and they thought they had done away with me. I personally believe. But when I came back through the door, they're like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm ready to train. And it's funny because in most wrestling schools, even today, it's usually about between $3,000 and $5,000, you know, for a reputable school. I mean, there's a few of them that take care of the people, like the props to John Rambo and Dick Carrcroft in the NWL. They have a school in Hagerstown, Maryland, and they do a little bit of a cheaper rate, but they turn a lot of people over too. They have a huge turnout out there. It's weird. There's a little community in town, and actually it's the West Virginia guys too, like Martinsburg, West Virginia, that area. He has a huge class out there, but it's usually like $3,000 to $5,000. He didn't charge me a dime, not one penny. He couldn't believe that they beat me up like that the night before, and here I come in the next day ready to go. You know, and from that point, it was you earned your wings back then. You know, you showed up for class, you took the 400 clothesline bumps a night, and then they decided to do arm drags, and then God forbid the last one was like backdrops, because you take 20 or 30 backdrops, it's like you don't even want to walk after that, but, yeah, especially out of that ring. But that was basically the start, you know, and Jimmy disappeared, you know, because he would go to Georgia and all up and down the East Coast. He worked for the Footbaldies and all the other independents. So he wasn't there all the time. There was a guy named Morgus the Maniac. Him and his father and a bunch of other people, they basically took charge of the program, and what would have to happen is we would pay our ring dues to them, which was, I want to say $5 a week, $10 a week, something, and then they would pay the gym. because, like I said, it wasn't a wrestling training center. It was actually a boxing training center. And they took over that part of it, and like it was 3 days a week, I think. It was like Monday and Tuesday and Friday, or Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday, something like that. And I never missed a class, not one time. I broke bones in my back in that damn ring. One of the boards broke. Guy picked me up to slam me, didn't see the board move, and when he slammed me down, I hit that board, broke some bones in my back, was right back down there the next night. Bob geeked up on painkillers, but I was there. And that was well before the whole painkiller thing in the wrestling business. But that was how I earned respect, because I didn't give up, I didn't stop coming, I didn't take time off. And it's like today's business, I laugh because, you know,
Jay Hollywood, coming from you, bro. That means the world to me, man. Thank you.
Yeah, you might
Straight
take
up.
3-4 weeks off TV, and it's like, yeah, right. We took 3-4 weeks off. We didn't make any money. So, different business, but that's how I started. And then it was just, you know, it was one independent promoter to the next, you know, and being from that class with Joey Maggs. Joey was the one I would say that, I don't know, it's a rough call with him and actually which one got farther in the business, but Joey was on national TV every single week. And I actually went to ECW, and, you know, it just kept, the machine kept turning. You know, we opened up an organization here in Baltimore that lasted for many years with my old partner, Lucifer Knight of the Road, and a guy named Dennis Whitbreck, who now is one of the owners of MCW here with Dan McDewitt. And it goes on and goes on. When you've been in the business a long time, you know, promoters come and go, and it's a strange type thing because people, you can't, if you work a normal job and you're a wrestling fan, you can't understand that, because you go to work every day and you get paid so much to work so many hours, whatever, and then you go to work the next day, same thing. Unless you lose your job, then you just go get another one. Well, the wrestling business, it doesn't quite work like that, because these promoters are such fly-by-night, and still to this day, there's very few of them around the country that pay well, take care of the boys when they're there, and make sure everything goes nice and smooth. You know, they come, they set up shop, they promote a really good show, you come in the second time, and then they're out of business, you know. You get used to that. I mean, I've been wrestling the last few months for a company out in West Virginia, and just doing little spot shows, because with my daytime job, it's really hard to take bookings right now. And those kids do it right. They're doing it very slow, and that's what this business is about. You know, is get a fan base, make the people care about what they're watching. You know, and it's through guys like you that help us stay relevant, so to speak, by doing talk shows and stuff. Because back in the day, we wouldn't have been allowed to do this. We had a talk show out of Baltimore, a local radio channel that would have us on, but you were completely a full heel or babyface, you know what I'm saying? Like, you couldn't speak to the media at all, because it would be completely frowned upon.
Well, I think that it's a privilege, you know, for I think on both ends to be able to just openly talk. And I'll be honest with you, Bobby, sometimes we have guys on that are gimmick driven, and they're coming on to promote their show, and that's all that we get from them, and that's cool. You know, we open up our doors to whoever wants to come on and do what they do. But I personally always enjoy it a little bit more when we can get a little bit of the person and a little bit of the gimmick. And I think with you, I mean, especially since you're you know, been in the business for so long, there's no doubt in my mind that you kind of have mastered both trades. And just based on the feedback that we're getting right now, people are really enjoying the interview. But I did want to ask you, in your time in the business, man, there's a lot of seedy stuff that goes on. There's a lot of people that maybe appear to be one thing and end up being another. Man, have you ever had any negative experiences with any particular promotions, promoters, or maybe just a story without naming any names that you can go back to and go, man, that son of a, you know what, never paid me or whatnot? Have you ever had any of those experiences?
Well, the story about not getting paid, that's nothing new. I mean, there's promoters out there to this day. And like you said, I'm not naming any names because I'm not here to start wars or anything. But
of course,
to this day, there's promoters everywhere that, excuse me, I'll come to town and I'll work on the show and I get paid X amount of dollars, and I'm looking around the dressing room, and the promoter walks over to me and gives me my money, and I'm watching, and I'm not seeing other guys getting paid, and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? I don't ask for that much. I never have. I'm just one of the boys, you know. I just got breaks where other people may not get those breaks. And yeah, I do ask that. I I have a rule, no matter who it is, no matter what it's for, I don't pay for anything. So if I'm not covering all my expenses and stuff like that, I don't even think about it. And, it's always nice to make money, but old school, you got T-shirts on the table, you got pictures on the table, you got that hustle, you make money. Because that's all this business is a giant hustle, I'll give you, for instance, when I worked for Vince McMahon, when I worked for the WWF, we were an enhancement talent. And you knew your place. And you know what? At that time, I started making $150 a night, and with them, I ended up making $5 a night. The deal was, you got to know your place in the business. I was never the biggest guy because I come from a land of giants. These guys today, those people on the show, again, not naming names, that they wouldn't even look at to be a job guy back then because they're too small. And now they're on national TV every week. And not saying anything, I'm not slighting the light heavyweights or the smaller guys, but the thing of it is people respected us. They were scared of us. Especially you get big heels like Abdullah the Butcher, Kamala. People were scared to death of these guys. They're not scared of any of these guys now. You go to a local arena when they're in town, and heel pulls up in the car and they're signing autographs, and that's why the business has changed. Everybody wants to be a babyface. Everybody wants to sell gimmicks. Everybody wants to I don't even know what the right words are, but the evolution of the pro wrestling business, it hasn't been a good one. I mean, at the time that I got in, I was very blessed and lucky because I got the shot. Larry Sharp and his people set me up to go to the WWF. I went with Dwayne Gill and Barry Hardy. I'm sure you guys know their names, Gilbert and Barry Hardy. So we always traveled as a group, and Tony Gurria would call and say, hey, I need 12 guys TV in Utica, New York, and Boston, Massachusetts. And, they paid for our car, they paid for all of our transportation, our hotels, all that kind of stuff. Boom, you fill up a car and away you go, and you go do your thing and come back home. But nowadays, I don't even know how to explain it because they call it entertainment, and that's strictly what it is now. It's not the pro wrestling business when you work 4 days a week. It's not the pro wrestling business where 90% of the TV show is people backstage. They're backstage set up. From a fan's perspective, you go to a show, the ring, the pyro, the superstructures they set up, the stage, that ain't shit. Go backstage one time. They've got so much stuff set up. But I was there when there was only 4 tractor trailers or 5 tractor trailers. Now there's 25. So, it's gotten bigger, but that doesn't always mean it's gotten better. And I fight with fans all the time about that. It's like, wait a minute. Tell me one of these kids that's on TV, even on the TV show that's on tonight, because Tribute to the Troops is always a really good show. As far as I'm concerned, it's completely blowing Raw and SmackDown out of the water this week, but that's nothing new. That show's always big. But understand something. No one on this television show, with maybe the exception of John Cena, and I haven't seen him yet, but I'm sure he's there, and maybe 1 or 2 others, in 10 years, they won't know who these guys are. The generation I come from, you can still go to arenas and places, and everybody knows who you are. George the Animal Steel, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the Bushwhackers, Greg Valentine, Hulk Hogan, Brutus Beefcake. The old business made superstars. The new business makes wrestling stars, if that makes any sense.
No, absolutely. I happen to be, I was born in 1984, got lucky enough to catch a good part of the 90s into the Attitude Era and then took a hiatus up until about 5 years ago. But I will say this, there's at least one guy that's trying. I know Bray Wyatt doesn't break character very much. And then recently, I don't know if you saw, Bobby.
Jericho is in that list of people that they'll never forget.
Right, yeah, he's tremendous. And then I don't know if you saw the video recently of Kevin Owens kind of like bad-mouthing some kid in the audience. And he got some pretty...
The internet went crazy over that.
Yeah. So what do you think about that? I mean, is that...
First off, real quick, because I'm really curbing myself here. Is this show like it's like the Steve Austin clean version thing, or
bro,
is it the unleashed version?
This show is whatever you want to make it, bro. Listen, straight up, we're internet radio, man. We curtail our show to the guests. You wanna fire off some F-bombs, bro? If that's what you need to do, you're more than welcome to.
Well, I'm just saying I'll talk as myself because I try to keep, I know sometimes there's kids out there listening to stuff, but if your parents are letting you listening to a radio show at 10 o'clock at night, you got a cool parent, or
Yeah, well, and to be honest with you, let me pull back the curtain a little bit. Usually, when we do our homework, which we do try, and thank you for crediting us for that, we'll save the guest that we would consider to be the edgier guest for the second hour, because we kind of do the same thing WWE does. All this stuff that's going to be a little bit more borderline, you're going to see that towards the end of the show. So, I mean, honestly, Bobby, it may be a little while before you have you back on. So, man, fire away, man. Be yourself. That's what the fans tune in to listen to, man. Guys just coming in, shooting, and saying what's on their mind. So, feel free.
Okay, like I said, I was just checking.
All good. All good.
What were you saying?
No, what I was going to say is it refreshing to you to see like a guy like KO do what he did, and maybe a guy like Bray Wyatt, even though we don't see it quite as much, maybe not break character, because at least a couple of the guys are trying to not be that way, where, you know, they pull up and, you know, they get into the arena, and, you know, you don't want to see a guy like Braun Strowman taking pictures with babies. You know, if you're really trying to get him over as your legit badass. You know, what'd you say? Go ahead.
Everybody's got their opinion on it, but here's the way I look at it. Okay, I met Kevin Owens in Philadelphia on Tommy Dreamer's House of Hardcore. Never heard of him or seen him before. And he worked with AJ Styles. By the end of that, I was shooting pictures, actually. And by the end of that match, I had a complete different respect for those guys. I'd seen AJ before, but I'd never seen or heard of Owens. Here's the problem. He tries to keep his gimmick going like he did with that little kid, which really got a lot of heat.
He did.
Okay? He tries to keep it going all the time, everywhere. Here's the problem. When you go backstage and they give you your well, they don't give you plane tickets anymore like they did back when I was there, but they give you your itinerary for what you have to do for like the next week until you get back to TV. And you see that you got to do 22 personal appearances at AutoZone and Toys R Us, and how the hell are you supposed to be a heel? You're going to sit there and act nasty to people, or play your character, as they say, to people at Toys R Us?
That's a good point.
Why people don't respect them. I respect the people you were just talking about a lot. And my favorite gimmick is Enzo and Cass, so I just laugh my ass off. But it's cool because they have a gimmick. Okay, let me explain to you, from my group, my graduating class, whatever you want to call it, the people that get over are guys with gimmicks. You know, you can be Kevin Owens, and, you know, he's KO or whatever, so that helps a little bit with gimmicks. But when you're Enzo and Cass, and they got all these great punchlines, and they got writers back there now that they never had when I was there, and these guys are like just writing shit non-stop for them. And every time one of them lines catch, you're going to see it on a T-shirt. It's going to make them money. You know, a very good heel doesn't have to do, you know, they shouldn't be sending them out to do all these personal appearances and stuff. That's what the babyface's job is. You know, when you're a baby, and everybody makes a turn at one point or another in their career. There's very few people I know that haven't done both. Like, before your guys' time, really, but a guy named Killer Khan. I don't believe he was ever a babyface, but then again, you never know, because Kamala was. You know, so
he did both.
Like George Animal Steel. You know, they were a great babyface. He was a great babyface, but people were scared shitless of him when he was a heel. You know, but the new product, the entertainment world product of the WWE is merchandise. It's all about money.
It is.
You know, and I'll catch heat maybe from a couple of guys for saying that, but it's the truth. Because the bottom line is, I watched on the tribute to the troops, a guy that's not American, which is, what the hell is his name?
Rusev?
Kid. No, the Samoan, the one that just cannot get over.
Roman Reigns.
Roman.
Yes. He came out in Washington, D.C. last night, and they booed him. Yeah. But he's dressed like a friggin' soldier, you know what I'm saying? If he was Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the place would have lost their mind. And they probably still would, even though Hacksaw was a little bit droopy, a little bit older. But here's this state-of-the-art body, a guy that kills himself in the gym, you know. And I don't think he's a bad worker. I just don't get it. I don't get it with him because right now, the kid standing next to him, the big Cass kid, is over like gangbusters, and all they do is do great lines on the microphone. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, you can tell he's in the gym all the time too. I'm not so sure about Enzo, but.
You know what it is, Bobby. It's the fans.
Think about what I'm saying though, because go back to a time and place. Okay, and everybody loves when I say this, but it's true because it was a huge merchandiser. It was Doink the Clown. Doink the Clown had all kind of merchandise, and if you think he had merchandise here, go over to Germany. Because when you went into the German market and the Japanese market, it was a whole different world. It was different merchandisers. Like, to this day, there are overseas, like, shop zones that are set up that you, as an American citizen, can't even purchase shit from them because they don't charge you American dollars.
Gotcha.
So it's a big circle with the WWE, you know, and I try to tell people, like, when I do, like, live seminars and stuff, I don't come from WWE, I come from WWF. And the WWF had to work, you know, you were working, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for TV. Thursday was always a house show. Friday was always a house show. Saturday was 2 house shows. Sunday was 2 house shows. And then when they add a pay-per-view, Jesus Christ, that's just adding another show.
Every 2 weeks.
And don't let it be like this, because last night they taped SmackDown Live, 205 Live, and a tribute to the troops for the night. So even as a fan, they had a job last night, and that was just a week. You know, when you tape shit like that, like back in the day when we did Superstars of Wrestling and Wrestling Challenge, Jesus Christ, the show would start at 7:30 and go to 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. I've literally seen buildings where Andre was wrestling Savage, and they were leaving because we were there so long, and all the boys are half out of it, you know what I mean? But, like I said, it's a different day and a different time. And if you, like I said, if you look at everybody that's still around, which I know the list is dwindling, it's gotten a lot better, but it was dwindling really bad around 95. Of the boys that are still around from back then, it's just night and day. It's I'll speak to somebody on the phone. Like my favorite was Buddy Landell. Nature Boy was a good friend of mine. God bless his soul. He would call me up in the middle of the night out of nowhere. And I knew exactly what it was. You'd hear his southern drawl, be like, Bobby, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm sleeping.
Like a normal person.
Get your ass up and start talking, boy, because I'm falling asleep, and I got another 150 miles to go try to get home. And, you know, you just sit up and start talking, you know. But like he would say, it's like down in the South, there's a show, I'll do a little self-promotion right now. Kingsport, Tennessee, on Christmas night is running a show. If anybody from your show is listening and they can get out there, get to that show, because the art of a holiday show is gone. These guys don't work on Christmas. They don't work on New Year's. Are you kidding me? It's a union without a union up there. They don't work on Thanksgiving. Jesus Christ, when I was wrestling full time, everybody worked on Thanksgiving. Everybody worked Christmas night. Everybody worked. Well, you didn't work New Year's. Usually New Year's you were off. But it's just so drastically different. And like I said, the physicality that you had to put on your body in the open.
Hey, Luchador, man, thank you for the kind words, bro. This is an incredible interview, bro. I'm just sitting here like
a new one every night,
like a kid in a candy store, man. I feel like I'm riding in the back of the car with
if you didn't get in the ring
with Bobby Starr. Oh wait, you're talking to Bobby Starr.
The night before, and end up banging their head again the next night, and the next night, and the next night, and then finally either they end up in a hospital or that loops over and you go back home for a couple of days and get your shit together. But guess what? Next week, Monday, TV, you better be there to work 3 times. You understand where I'm coming from?
100%, bro.
Yeah, definitely.
These guys, I've seen guys that have been in the ring. Honky Tonk Man, I think Honky had the longest one. It's 100 and some days. How do you knock the home for 100 days?
Hey, he was just here. Like, he was just in KC 2 weeks ago, bro.
For that category, honestly, he was lucky because he made a shit ton of money. Because, like I said, you got paid by the houses back then. So if you worked, you make some good money. But actually, Dwayne Gill's trying to buzz in on me right now.
Oh shit!
He must be tuning into your show.
Yeah. We got to get him on, bro. You got to hook us up. We got to get him on, too. That'd be great.
Oh, I can hook you up with Dwayne. No problem at all. I'm married, too. I can hook you up with quite a few people.
Let's do it.
But it's just such a different business. And, you know, I love these guys to death. I haven't met a lot of the guys that are on the current roster because it's a new what do you call it?
Regime era.
Genre.
It's a whole new genre. Yeah.
It's like I've met John Cena and a couple of the different assorted people that are there now. like the referee, I don't know if they've ever even said his name on TV, but there's a short black referee that works for him. His name's D. He's from MCW here in Baltimore. And then you got, let me think, who else is there? The kid with the two hands or whatever the hell his gimmick is.
High Life, actually, but thank you for asking. You know me, bro.
And he's been doing that thing with AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose on top. Yeah, it was 6 months ago. Nobody knew who the hell he was.
Freaking Ellsworth.
Show up and do extra work backstage. God, who else is there from here? There's a couple of guys down there.
Well, Sonny Boy. Sonny Boy has made a couple of appearances too. He's from your area too. I forgot what he goes. He's got that like Sarabian gimmick.
I keep trying to tell him to go on WWE.com and buy some more of that merchandise so he could use it at the shows, but
I'm telling you, they're not giving it to him.
WWE TV as a what do you call it, as a baby face doing that little gimmick they did, and then he comes home and he's like the Syrian marauder or whatever the hell his gimmick is. He's just like a foreign
Aziz.
Sort of like Abdullah the Butcher. It's funny. He's a good guy.
Yeah, Sonny Boy is a good. Hey, Joe, real quick, man. I know you've been chomping at the bit. Why don't you jump on here with Bobby? I know you had at least one or two questions for him. Joe, you didn't fall asleep on me again, did you? All right. Well, Joe,
I do have a question. I actually want to talk to you about a guy you've been in the ring with quite a few times. I'm from the Charlestown area, so I've gone to multiple CPW shows, and you wrestled a guy by the name of Sexy Shane Shadows. What's it like to wrestle Shane?
I like Shane.
I know him personally. Trained me as a referee and stuff, so what's it like to be in the ring with him?
Shane's a good guy. I've known him for, God, too many years. And he comes from that NWL school. As a matter of fact, I believe he was their first ever student at that school, the Powerless Superior Wrestling School, or whatever, at that time. Now it's the House of Pain. And Shane's just been around for forever. He's wrestled with everybody. As a matter of fact, was it last summer? I think it was the summer before. I was in a
did you hear that one too, Jeff?
I wrestled,
it's Pepsi, bro. Straight up.
Bobby Fulton from the Fantastics and one of the local guys, and had a blast. It was a good time. But Shane's one of them guys that, you know, he saw the writing on the wall. We're only going to be able to work so long in the ring. So he started to promote. And he's got his own little thing going, and every summer he has select towns that he does fairs and stuff like that. And then he runs a couple of spot shows himself during the year. And like the last time he ran one that I was at was a big, like a giant volunteer fire hall, but it was like one of the really big ones, not a small town one. I mean, it was in a small town, but you get the picture. It's just a huge building. And but there's several guys out there that are like that. I mean, if you think about it, look at Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer, ECW superstar. Tommy Dreamer, WWE superstar. Tommy Dreamer is one of the best independent promoters there is. You know, they've got the House of Hardcore, and they're coming to Joppa, Maryland, actually this weekend on the 17th, and they're going to invade the MCW home base and put on a House of Hardcore show. And
it's going to be huge.
Seen the videos from them shows, absolutely amazing. Because the guys, my personal opinion, I've been to a few of them, and I think the guys work harder for Tommy than they do for anybody because they're friends with Tommy and they want to make it successful. And they know that we need a third company. I mean, you know, I tie Ring of Honor with TNA because as much talent that is there, and people take me wrong all the time, they have amazing talent. The guys are absolutely amazing. But when the people put the matches together, it just, you know, 20-minute matches don't make it on TV unless people are emotionally, like, invested in it. Back in the day when the Iron Sheik beat up Jim Duggan, left him bleeding in the ring, the people wanted to kill the Iron Sheik. So if the Iron Sheik and Jim Duggan headlined a colored show, it was sold out, like days in advance. Okay, when King Kong Bundy smashed Hogan's ribs out in Phoenix, Arizona on Saturday Night Main Event, every house show that they were on, leading right into WrestleMania 2, was sold out because they were emotionally attracted to that match for some sort of reason. That's what they forget to do 99% of the time in the business nowadays. You know, if people, one-offs are great, but they like do a shot on TV, piss them off, and then take it around the loop around the country. And that's what it used to be years ago. If it wasn't going to be a major angle or a major thing, give you an idea from the South, when Livermore Animal dug the spike in the Dusty Rhodes' face, okay? The people down south wanted to kill the Livermores. They were scared to death of them. Don't get me wrong, they pulled in the parking lot, the fans would spread like the Red Sea to get away from them. But they wanted at them, you know. I remember a story, I think Kevin Nash might have told it to me. Either Kevin or Scott told me they were coming out of Madison Square Garden one night and they tried to flip their car over.
Holy crap. We're talking about real heat, bro.
Pissed off at the house show that night, and the fans speak, man, and when you get 15, 20 fans around a car and they start rocking it, I'm sure it was not fun.
Oh, damn. That's legit. That's awesome. Well, Bobby, you know, we want to respect your time, and obviously we're coming close to the end of the show today, and honestly, I've got at least 6 other questions that I wanted to ask you, so obviously we want to let you know that hopefully this is just part 1 of several visits that you'll make to the Wrestle Talk podcast. Obviously, you know, I live here in Kansas.
Anytime, guys. Just let me know. It's hard with my work schedule, but we can always figure something out. But here, hit them off quick. And I'll try not to tell the diarrhea stories that take forever.
No question. Actually, I'm going to save those questions because we actually want to bring you in to play what we call our Wrestle Talk game show. But before we hit the music for that, I wanted to tell you, man, I actually live in Kansas City. We've got a really wonderful thing happening here with a promotion called...
Auditorium.
Yeah, that's right, Municipal, yeah. Dude, it's great. Now they're running shows all over town now. There's a couple of different promotions, but one that is looking to kind of make a serious impact called NWL. And when I make my trip out to West Virginia to visit with Joe, I'm going to go to an MCW show, bro. Maryland Championship Wrestling, to me, seems to be one of those promotions that if you're an indie fan, you've got to go there. It's kind of like AAW is another one of those. Definitely want to make sure that I make it out there, and hopefully you're on the show that day. But without further ado, myself, the Night Owl, wants to challenge Bobby Starr in tonight's Wrestle Talk game show. Are you down, my friend?
I'm good. Let's go.
All right. Now, considering that we did... Oh, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Hit the music, bro. Hit the music.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wrestle Talk game show challenge. We have Playboy Bobby Starr. We have the Night Owl, and tonight we're going to be doing cop movies. I found out that Mr. Starr is in the law enforcement business, so why not do some trivia about cop movies? Are you okay with that, Mr. Starr?
Well, I'm not. Really doing some real good homework because I delivered to the Department of Correction for 15 years. I'm not doing it anymore, but you got close.
No. I had it, and Joe botched it. I know you work for the Department of Corrections, bro. I was about to say, he's like, you work for the DOC. But anyway, hey, listen, I'm going to step into your world here a little bit and see how I do. I've only been arrested once in my life, and it wasn't my fault, damn it. I'll say it to the end. Go ahead, let's do it.
You sound like Raven.
All right, so basically I'm going to ask a multiple choice question. You tell me what the right answer is, and if you're correct, you get a point. Whoever gets the best out of 3 points wins.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so Beverly Hills Cop, was that made in 1984, 1985, or 1986?
84.
85.
Bobby Starr would be correct. It was made in 1984.
That's my birth year too, man. Some bull. All right. Damn it.
One for Bobby Starr, none for Renee. The next one, Dirty Harry. Was that made in 1971, 1970, or 1973?
Which one? The original?
The original with Clint Eastwood?
1971.
Original.
Yeah, actually,
71.
Was it 71, 73, and 70? And 70?
Yes.
Okay, 71.
71 would be correct. So that means Bobby Starr has 2, Renee has 1. So we got one last question.
I'm going to tie this. I'm going to tie it.
The the movie Rush Hour, was the movie made in 1997, 1998, or 1999?
98. I don't even know the movies, though.
What are you talking about? Dude, Jackie Chan, Chris Tucker, you kidding me? One more time? What were the three options?
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Hey, wait, what were the three options again?
1997, 1998, or 1999?
98.
If it is 1998, that means Bobby Starr has 3, Renee has 2. That means that Bobby Starr is the winner for the night.
Bobby said 98.
Yeah, all I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up. And they stay there.
Wait. Okay, what the hell is this? The election of Florida? We tied. Did Bobby say 98?
Yep, yeah.
Damn it! I hate losing. Fine. Respect to the Playboy Bobby Starr, sir. It was an honor and a pleasure to have you on. We're gonna take you up on the offer, okay, of having some of those other guys on the show. But more importantly, man, please know that we're gonna be hitting you up to come back on the show soon. Is that cool with you?
Absolutely. Put on your page or whatever. Let them know my Facebook page. I've got a fan page out there. This particular weekend, Friday night, the 16th, I'll be in Denton, Maryland with a bunch of my friends down there for ACW. Saturday night is House of Hardcore in Joplin, Maryland. Don't forget about Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th from Tokyo. And then MCW, Maryland Championship Wrestling, will be back in Joplin on January the 28th.
No doubt.
I mean, there's just a couple of things. And I will be, because I'm a photographer too, I will be part of the Bon Jovi tour that's going on starting in February. Let's see, M3 Rock Festival in Baltimore in April, and a bunch of other stuff. But that's all on my Facebook page. So if anybody wants to check it out, feel free. I don't know how many people I can accept as friends, but if they could just, with the little follow gimmick or whatever, just follow it, and that way they can see what's going on.
So you're Bobby Starr on Facebook, right? Is it just Bobby Starr on Facebook?
Yeah, it's just Bobby Starr, and then there's the fan page of Bobby Starr or whatever.
All right, you got it. Hey, man, up to almost 20,000 followers. Let's get that thing up to 25, guys. Bobby, awesome, man. Much respect to you, bro. You're always welcome back here with the Wrestle Talk Podcast family, bro. We'll catch you on the other side.
Absolutely, guys. Take care. Everybody have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
You got it. Same to you, brother. God bless. Adios.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, by the way, there's a consensus on social media that I was robbed. I'm just letting y'all know right now because it was whatever. That's fine. We'll run the tape back, okay, and we'll make it official because the Night Owl won that challenge. Thank you, Jay Hollywood, and everybody else that is clearing. That's fine. That's fine. You know what? Go ahead and hit the music again because I know I won that. Hit that T-Pain. Let's get the hell out of here. Brandis likes when I lose. I know she does. I won. Jay Hollywood, you saw, bro.
No matter what, got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up. And they stay there.
Wasn't Pepsi.
All right, everybody. Thanks for another great show. Until next time.
WrestleTalkPodcast.com, suckers!